In this world, all kinds of races exist, and they fight each other. Our boy, from a very young age, was different. At just 10 years old, he joined the Imperial Academy of Dragon Slayers. By 15, he was already dominating the battlefields. Leon became known as the hero Dragon Slayer, the only hope humans had left against the dragons. But everything changed. In dragon territory, the guards hear these heavy, imposing footsteps, and the moment they realize it's the queen, they drop to their knees in respect. This is Rosweisa, the Dragon Queen, and she asked to speak alone with the Dragon Slayer. The woman wanted to mock the hero, humanity's hope, now caught and helpless in front of her. Leon begs for a quick death, but she refuses. She tells him he's just as handsome and determined as everyone said. Then the girl scratches his cheek, tastes a bit of the hero's blood, and tells him he can choose to join the Dragon Clan and live. But Leon says it again. He'd rather die. Furious, the woman throws him across the room, and the chains holding him snap apart. Leon coughs up blood in the middle of the smoke, and Rosweisa steps on him and says that he, Leon Cosmode, humanity's hero, wasn't strong enough to win, and now he's going to die without leaving a single kid behind. Then she lifts him up with her tail and forces him to beg for mercy and a quick death. But our boy doesn't back down, and he tells her she just made 2 fatal mistakes. That catches the queen off guard. What mistakes? Leon says being alone with a dragon slayer was mistake number 1, and mistake number 2 was tasting his blood. Leon triggers his blood curse, and in that exact instant, the girl loses all her strength and drops him from her grip. Rosweisa has no idea what's happening. Her body is burning up. And something even stranger, she's getting hot in places she really shouldn't be getting hot in. Now it's Leon who's standing tall, warning her that something terrible is about to happen. But nothing terrible happens at all. The woman jumps on top of Leon, her red eyes completely locked in on something else entirely. Now it's our boy who's frozen, completely caught off guard. Wait, is she turned on right now? The queen forces a kiss on Leon, and it leaves him speechless. And right after that, he loses a lot more than just his voice. You'll see. After 1 hour, the dragon goes back to normal. Her red eyes fade, and the girl gets furious, screaming at him, demanding to know what he did to her. Leon barely has any strength left to talk, but he reveals that his curse creates a soul bond with its target for life, and when he dies, the other person suffers eternal pain until their own death. Our boy points out that dragons follow one rule, one partner for life. Then he teased her by reminding her that, just like him, she now would have no successor either. Filled with rage, the queen called him a bastard, as energy crackled around her. Calmly, he asked if she wanted to kill him, stating that she didn't need to because he would die soon anyway. Finally, Leon declared that his curse was for her to live with hatred and pain forever. The dragoness remained silent, dressing herself while processing the situation. Then she asked how a human could take revenge in such a despicable way and still want to die. With her hand glowing with power, she called him a scoundrel, incredulous at his attitude. Then she struck him with magical energy directly in his chest. Leon Cosmode was once a legendary dragon-slaying hero. But everything changed when he became a prisoner of the Dragon Clan, and 2 years have passed since his capture. Suddenly, he woke up screaming, as if emerging from a long nightmare. While trying to catch his breath, he looked around completely disoriented. With his hand on his chest, he still tried to understand what he was feeling. Then he realized he was in a luxurious and unfamiliar room, wondering where he was. Next, he heard the sound of the door slowly opening. A small, dark-haired girl peeked through the crack in the door. With a sweet voice, she noticed that he was finally awake. The hero was completely shocked, thinking about how cute she was. With that, he started to understand everything, concluding that he must be in heaven for his great contribution to humanity. He called her a legendary angel, but the girl asked, confused, what an angel was. Smiling, he approached and asked what the little angel's name was. The girl cheerfully replied that her name was Moon. He thought it was a very beautiful name, but wondered why her hair color was so strange. Moon then explained that her mother said her hair meant the moon, surprising him with the idea that angels had mothers. As he picked her up, he introduced himself as Leon Cosmode, and she excitedly said she knew Leon meant lion. He asked who had told her that, and she answered that it was her mother as well. With sudden suspicion, he hesitantly asked who her mother was. The girl joyfully replied that it was Rosweisa, leaving him completely shocked. Realizing that her mother was the Dragon Queen, he began to piece together his own situation. With a radiant smile, Moon concluded that he was her daddy. The revelation left him completely paralyzed and speechless. Then the little girl asked that he really was her father, and Mommy Rosweisa's before calling out her mother. The confirmation hit him hard, leaving him even more stunned. Soon, the Silver Queen appeared, and while Moon said that Daddy had woken up, she merely replied that she already knew. With a smile, the Queen confirmed that he had finally awakened. Moon then revealed that Mommy must be happy because she visited him every day. Although the drivingness confirmed the story, Leon thought that only an idiot would believe that. Next, She asked Moon to go play outside so she could speak with her father. Once they were alone, he asked if Moon was really his daughter, and the answer was yes, biologically. With her tail tapping against the door, the Silver Queen angrily stated that he hated her. Leon stepped back, questioning why she gave birth to the child and why she saved him. The Queen then explained that he had been asleep for 2 years, asking if he thought she would just let it go. Furious, he shouted that he never wanted to do that because they could not coexist, and he would never have touched her under any other circumstances. She teased him, asking if touching her was torture, and he confirmed that of course it was. Immediately, her tail wrapped around his leg. With a pull, she threw him backwards onto the bed. As she pinned him down, he asked fearfully what she intended to do. Without answering the creature, Tori's shirt was a single motion. With a magic circle in her hand, she revealed that she wanted to carve her own dragon pattern onto him, making him scream for her to stop. She said that it would make him her prisoner and his greatest shame, as he would never be able to leave her. Then she mocked him, asking what his human comrades would think when they saw the dragon. As he felt the mark spreading, he asked why she had to go this far. The sovereign approached, explaining that the dragon's concept of revenge was extreme and inhumane. With that, she declared that she wanted him to live with that shame and be severely humiliated by her forever. However, Leon felt something unexpected as the mark formed, because for the Queen this was a great honor. Thus, she leaned over him and said it was time to begin his unbelievable revenge as a dragon. The scene begins in the Grand Silver Dragon Castle. Gossip about Leon waking up spreads quickly through the castle. He doesn't like getting the title of the Dragon Queen's husband, especially being all bruised up after spending the whole day being worn out by Rossweisse. Refusing to be a domestic slave, Leon thinks about escaping. He finds it strange the place has fewer guards than when he first arrived. Then, he spots a hole. Even suspecting a trap, he decides to escape through it. Little Muin saw her father in the hole and warned her mother, who didn't show any concern. The warrior escaped toward the mountains, heading for human territory, and looked back to check if he was being followed. Suddenly, he saw the Queen crossing the sky in her dragon form. She revealed that she left the hole open on purpose, and Leon, despite suspecting a trap, didn't think he would be caught so fast. The Queen asked what the warrior would do, pointing out that humans wouldn't recognize him as a hero anymore because of the new mark on his chest. For Leon, however, it was better to start over with a common life than to remain a slave to the dragons. Rossweisse got angry and decided to take the warrior back to the human kingdom. After 3 hours of flight, she threw him over a forest, and he crashed through the trees until he hit the ground. As he spotted a city, Leon noticed the Queen reappear in her human form by his side. She claimed he could never return to his people or be with another woman, as the dragon mark would react immediately. Then, Rossweisse pinned Leon against a tree, saying she wanted him to take her right in front of his homeland, so he would feel even more ashamed. The hunter declared his faith wouldn't be shaken, and that he would wait for the chance to repay the humiliation twofold, but the threat didn't affect the Queen, who remained focused on the moment. After they were done, the Queen was highly satisfied with the hunter's effort and commented that she planned to bring him there once a month. However, the determined man stated he wouldn't be drained by her. Ignoring his comment, the Queen ordered their return as their daughter was waiting for them. Out of pride, Leon refused to be carried like prey and preferred to go on foot, even after she warned him that at a human pace, the journey would take almost a month. He kept walking until he felt the weight of exhaustion, but he didn't back down to the Queen, who followed him closely. Suddenly, they spotted an army of dragon slayers. Leon immediately thought about asking for help, but hesitated because he knew Rossweisse would wipe them all out in an instant. One of the men saw them and asked if they were lost, but the hunter lied, saying they were just taking a walk. The soldier warned them about the dangers of the region and offered a ride, introducing himself as Walker, the captain of the 47th Squad of the Imperial Army. Worried about them getting too close, Leon politely declined, saying they knew how to defend themselves. The captain, however, claimed he recognized the hunter's face from somewhere, making Rossweisse prepare for a deadly strike. To avoid the worst, Leon pulled her close and pretended they were a loving couple, explaining that people often confused his face. Walker decided not to get in their way and left with his group. After they walked away, the Queen complained about being called his wife, and the hunter shot back that he didn't like the situation either. At that moment, the man noticed a scar on his own hand and felt a sharp pain in his chest that made him pass out, forcing the Queen to take her dragon form to carry him back. Back at the palace, Leon woke up with Muen telling him that her mother had carried him back, which annoyed him because he was transported like prey. Then he noticed the bandage on his hand made by his daughter and assumed that, since she was a hybrid, the young girl didn't share the hostility of the dragons. Leon thanked the girl and asked her not to grow up like her mother. Queen Rossweisse overheard the conversation and asked what was going on, but the hunter brushed it off. The girl excitedly said she followed the instructions to bandage her father's hand, but the mother didn't care. To ease the tension, Leon asked his daughter to go play and promised to meet her soon. As soon as the girl left, Leon angrily asked why Rossweisse was so harsh on her daughter. The Queen replied that this was traditional dragon education to make them strong warriors in the future. Leon argued that Muen wasn't just a dragon, and that she was gentle, which Rossweisse took as an insult to her race. The hunter reminded her that the queen herself knew how to be gentle when she wanted, but she shot back, saying he was just a slave to relieve her stress. Rosweiss explained she had many matters to handle and ordered Leon to take care of their daughter since the girl liked him. Complaining about his role as a babysitter, Leon went to look for Muen and found her quickly, but she just stared at him in silence. He figured the girl was angry because he took too long and tried to apologize, but she ran away without explaining. Right after, the girl reappeared smiling and grabbed him from behind. Leon found it strange because he had just seen her run in front of him, but she explained she was hiding and waiting for him. As the girl pulled his arm to show him something new, another child identical to Muen watched them leave. Young Muen hummed as she drew in peace, making Leon realize that fatherhood healed any sickness of the soul. Because of this, he promised not to let the girl be bound to the fate of the dragons. Then, Muen ran over to show her drawing of a family portrait, and the man noticed there were 2 children on the paper. The girl explained the other one was her sister Noah, leaving Leon shocked to find out he had fathered twins. He then realized that was the quiet child he saw earlier and thought she was angry, but Muen clarified that her twin was just very shy. Determined to confront the queen for not telling him about the other daughter, Leon went to the office where Rosweiss analyzed papers next to her small dragon. He walked in demanding explanations about the other child, but the queen acted naturally, assuming he already knew. Since he had been used many times while sleeping, Leon didn't know whether to say thank you or apologize for the 2 daughters, furiously promising to register the queen's and the children's names in his family tree when he returned to the Empire. Rosweiss stared at him seriously and tried to explain why she hadn't introduced the second girl yet, but the man interrupted her, guessing she was jealous of his parenting skills and stating he wanted to get to know the girl better. The queen decided to arrange the meeting but warned him not to regret it. To impress his daughters, the hero decided to cook using his skills from the days he made stew for the battalion, aiming to win over little Noah through her stomach, while the maids gossiped that he was a great catch. The queen approached with the children and dismissed the servants so they could rest. Muen ran to praise the smell of the food, but Noah showed no interest in being there. Feeling the rejection and blaming Rosweiss for it, Leon glared at the queen, who in turn told her daughter to introduce herself to her father. Noah did so very formally, and though Leon tried to be warm as he introduced himself, the girl remained completely still. The man questioned internally why she was as cold as her mother, and Muen whispered for her twin to be more charismatic. However, Noah commented that the man was too weak to be her father, leaving Leon deeply shaken as he realized that dealing with kids was no walk in the park. Leon got to know his daughter's personalities better during dinner and became certain that Noah's temperament was just like her mother's. He asked if the girl was enjoying the food, but got an immediate no. While Rosweiss was amused by the situation, the family atmosphere felt fun and relaxed to the protagonist, who promised to have dinner every day with baby Muen. However, Noah replied that she couldn't, because she had to study for the Saint Heat Dragon Academy. Rosweiss reminded the girl that the trip would only happen in 3 years, but Noah determinedly stated that she wanted to wipe out the dragon hunters, making Leon almost choke. The hunter tried to warn the child that hunters were very strong, but Noah didn't like being treated that way. Taking advantage of the situation, Rosweiss decided to let her daughter train earlier to finish off that scum and asked if the father had any objection to their daughter going to school sooner. Leon realized the queen's intentions and replied that he saw no problem in his daughter learning how to kill him, noting how sadistic the woman was and how she wanted him gone, but he promised to pay her back soon. The little girl was happy that she could take the academy exam within a month and that Leon would be her tutor. At the end of dinner, with Moon completely full, Leon called Rosweiss to wash the dishes. The queen argued that was a job for the maids, but the protagonist insisted they do it together as a family tradition, and she accepted reluctantly. Moon got excited to help, but Noah dragged her away to brush their teeth. Without the kids, Rosweiss asked when Leon would start helping her. The protagonist, however, activated the seal on his own chest, which immediately activated the seal on Rosweiss. Sensing danger, the queen whipped her tail at the hunter, who blocked the strike and said he wasn't going to run away. Leon's touch on the woman's tail left her defenseless, as he knew that was her sensitive spot, and that night he decided he would teach her how to tame a dragon. Rosweiss asked Leon to let go of her tail, but the protagonist decided to do something different, leaving the queen torn between displeasure and pleasure. Suddenly, the maids showed up to clean the kitchen and were impressed to find everything clean, while the couple hid in the pantry. As soon as the girls left, Leon decided to give his wife some special attention. The night was so exhausting that Leon slept for 3 days, being woken up gently by his daughters. Muen showed happiness to see him awake, and Leon tried to remember the exact moment he had passed out. However, Rosweiss thought it was best not to comment on the matter in front of the kids. That was when he remembered the punch to his face and started admiring his wife getting ready in front of the mirror. The girls noticed their father's silly look at their mother, which left the queen surprised enough to drop her hairpin. Leon picked it up and pinned the ornament back, sincerely praising his wife, but Rosweiss shot back saying he said that to everyone. Leon commented that he knew how to handle donkeys, making Muen curious about the term. The protagonist explained that they were animals similar to dragons, capable of carrying weight and complaining about everything. Then, he did a cheap imitation comparing the animal to the girl's mother, which earned Leon a strike from the queen to keep him sharp. Rosweise then ordered the children to learn how to write their own names with their father's help, making the girls run to the library to get pencils. After that, the queen warned she would receive a visit from her sister. She asked Leon to hide the kids from his sister-in-law. The protagonist guessed she didn't want her family to know about her kids with a human, but Rosweise was strict. She instructed Leon to introduce himself as a dragon recently awakened from a coma if her sister-in-law approached him. Leon glared at the queen and lied that he would obey, but he planned to make her suffer the ultimate humiliation in front of her sister. In the study room, Leon struggled to teach his daughters how to write their own names. Then Noah complained about his handwriting. To escape the situation, he pretended he needed to deliver something to their mother and left. Meanwhile, Isabel Melkwai, the Red Dragon Queen, arrived at the castle imposingly. Her sister Rosweise welcomed her warmly. Isabel praised her and showed curiosity about her brother-in-law waking up, but the Silver Dragon Queen played it off. She lied that her husband was feeling sick. Despite being frustrated with the answer, Isabel found it interesting that her sister married for love. Rosweise directly replied she had no reason to love her husband. Hearing that, Isabel concluded her sister remained stubborn. Rosweise changed the subject and invited her to chat and catch up. The two walked and talked about the Red Dragon King. He might be trying to expand his territory after disappearing. Leon spied on them from afar. He decided to test the limits of the mark he placed on the queen's chest. Suddenly, Rosweise felt the mark's effect on her chest. She played it off when Isabel asked if something was wrong. The Silver Queen looked angrily toward the castle. She knew it was the Dragon Slayer's fault. Isabel kept talking about wars and politics, but Rosweise couldn't focus because of the tingling sensation the mark caused. It made her start sweating. Without giving much explanation, Rosweise ran back to the castle. Isabel noticed the dragon mark activating on her sister. She just thought young people these days were too bold. In the castle, Leon waited to see how long the queen would take to come looking for him. She entered the place fuming with embarrassment from what she went through in front of her sister. Leon faked submission and said he missed her a lot. That left the queen flustered for a moment. Right after, she composed herself and ordered the prisoner to restrain himself. She threatened to destroy him if that happened again. Satisfied, Leon realized he could manipulate the queen through the mark. Thinking about her brought up new feelings that he tried to push out of his mind. Meanwhile, in the study room, his daughters kept doing their activities. The Red Queen said goodbye and wished to see her sister's husband on the next visit. Rosweise watched her leave while planning to punish Leon in the worst ways possible. Then, the warrior finished telling a story to his daughters and sneaked out so he wouldn't wake them up. However, the queen caught him in the hallway. She didn't accept any disrespect and dragged him away to show her cruelty. That night, Leon brought a bucket of hot water to Rosweise's chambers. She demanded a massage because she walked a lot during the day. Even though he was surprised by the order, the queen stressed it was his punishment for his behavior earlier. Leon started taking her shoes off, wondering how many dragon slayers she had stomped on. But he soon started admiring the queen's feet. She noticed the boy's fixation. Suddenly, Leon shoved Rosweise's foot into the scalding water. She reacted immediately by kicking him in the jaw. Noticing the man did it on purpose, the queen walked over his body. She started crushing him to make him feel pain. In response, Leon grabbed Rosweise's leg and bit her to taste dragon meat. This made the queen scream throughout the whole palace. The next day, the kids noticed their mother was limping and their father wore a bandage on his face. Muen wasn't convinced by the excuse that it was just a mosquito bite. She asked to join the game too. The couple walked through the distant garden, but the maids thought they were enjoying a romantic moment. Leon didn't understand why he was there, even knowing it was the queen's request to create a good impression among the subjects, and he suspected she was up to something. Meanwhile, the daughters watched from a hiding spot, thinking their father was too slow for not holding their mother's hand. Muen decided to help. Ignoring Noah's request to leave them alone, she approached and joined their hands to teach them how to walk in the garden. Then, the girl left without ceremony, leaving the couple shocked by her confidence. They continued their walk hand in hand, with the queen asking the prisoner to be less distant. Leon, however, found Rosweise's behavior strange, since she usually kept a cold attitude in front of the servants. The young man took the moment to point out that the daughters didn't treat their mother with affection, and Rosweise agreed that the girls seemed distant. Leon suggested that the daughters should start calling her mommy to build more intimacy, which made the woman's expression change suddenly. Not wanting to show affection, the queen ended the walk and said she would give the young man some relief if he was homesick. They went to a shed that the queen called a warehouse, where the hunter found dragon relics that would be worth millions in the human world. Rosweise commented that some artifacts had value, while others were just trophies of war. Leon asked about the queen's family, and she revealed she was raised with her sister by their grandmother, making the young man relate since he was also an orphan and got adopted by his master. Rosweise then opened a chest, promising she would help Leon not worry about the weather, and the young man froze when he saw his black armor. The queen decided to return the equipment to the hunter, who quickly touched the helmet. At that moment, an ancient rune magic activated, revealing itself as another trap from the Silver Dragon Queen. The woman had placed a dragon mark on the piece, which left Leon shaking violently. Then, Rosweise grabbed the hunter's face, asking if he liked what he saw, and slammed him to the ground. Leon was furious because she lied all day, but the queen claimed she didn't lie and just liked to stay in control of the situation. A few hours later, Leon was hurt from the violence, while the woman admired him with satisfaction. The hunter, wary, decided to back away to avoid falling into another trap. The woman sat up and commented that he needed to train, leaving Leon annoyed as he felt the weight and weakness in every muscle of his body. The next day, Leon was still exhausted, but ended up being woken up by his wife and daughter. Rosweise mocked the hunter for failing so quickly the night before, while little Noah watched another fight between the couple with disappointment. The queen then ordered Leon to teach dragon knowledge to the girl, taking the chance to mock his weak performance. Leon replied that had never happened to him before. Next, he proposed getting something in return if he made Noah pass the academy exam. Rosweise accepted the proposal, as long as it was not a crazy request, and the hunter considered the deal done. After the woman left, Noah wanted to know why her father was fighting with the queen, calling her mom. Leon was surprised by the word and asked if the girl liked calling her that. In a quiet way, the girl said yes, leaving Leon happy that he reached her first emotional step. However, Noah did not like that reaction and decided they should start studying. Leon was in the study room focused on his daughter's school subject when Rosweise came close and asked if he was not going to rest, since it was late. The protagonist commented that Noah was very advanced, so he needed to create a teaching method up to her level. Rosweise agreed, mentioning the little girl took after her mother, but Leon hit back, saying she inherited her father's intelligence, since he was the best student in his class back in school. He then wanted to know what academic awards the queen had won, which left her surprised that he was not just a brainless dragon-slaying brute. Scoffing at the guy, Rosweise wanted to know how someone so smart ended up becoming a prisoner, and Leon replied that dragon tea is always hard to resist. Suddenly, the queen spotted peppers on the table and asked what they were, and the protagonist explained he used them to stay awake. Rosweise was shocked, because yellow dragon peppers were not good for humans. Even so, Leon ate the food and started breathing fire through his nose, desperately begging for water. Rosweise held his face with her cold hands, easing the heat, and the man calmed down with that cold, soft touch. The romantic mood that followed left them both embarrassed, making each one turn away. Next, the queen ordered him to go to bed right away, because she wanted to cuddle. Leon almost fell for the dragon queen's temptation, but he felt shivers as he remembered her last trap. He decided he needed to find a way to recover quickly, and started studying dragon herbology to find something to help him, until he found a little berry he assumed was perfect for his problem. The next day, during their studies, Noah got an average score of 62% on the exercises, but she was not happy with her own performance. Noticing his daughter's frustration, Leon thought she should be playing and having fun at that age. He patted her head, asking her not to push herself so hard, and the girl, softening up for a moment, thanked her father. Right after, Leon started coughing because of the pepper from the day before. Noah commented that her mother told her about what happened and handed her father some dragon lozenges to soothe his throat. Leon said thanks and felt even more motivated to keep studying, seeing that their relationship was improving. The castle maids brought some ingredients Leon asked for, but they only served to hide his real intentions. He figured out that brewing the dragon strength potion would not be hard following the instructions, so he started grinding and crushing the ingredients according to the manual. A few hours later, Leon felt tired and frustrated after failing once again. Noticing the mistake always happened in the last step of the process, he realized he needed professional equipment to get the right temperature without ruining the potion. When thunder announced a heavy rain in the area, Leon had the idea to distill the impurities from the potion using his own lightning magic. After shocking the bottle for 30 minutes, he got the expected result. Moon came close asking what her father was doing, and Leon explained he was preparing a medicine for Rosweise to recover from her exhaustion. The little girl got happy seeing her father taking care of her mother, and Leon really was focused on that task. While the rain fell, Leon wondered about the effect of that potion on humans, but he was surprised by the queen suddenly entering the room. Rosweise commented that Moon told her about a medicine that looked like chocolate and wanted to know what the pill was about. Leon hesitated, but the queen stated she was not there to judge him, though she was impressed by his skill in making potions. She asked to see the brew and found Leon's ability to create dragon strength without many resources interesting, which left him surprised by the compliment. Rosweise warned the item couldn't be eaten yet. A dragon supplement was dangerous for humans, and the prisoner wouldn't handle the side effects. Leon wasn't convinced. He had already defeated several dragons and believed a pill wouldn't take him down. He swallowed the pill and claimed courage was the human motto, but he immediately started feeling the side effects. Rosweise panicked because she wasn't good with healing magic. Leon asked her to stay away because he was willing to suffer the consequences. He felt a shock run through his entire body. The queen noticed Leon was using his own body's lightning magic and thought it was foolish. Then the young man passed out. This made Rosweise decide to call the palace doctor. However, he recovered and grabbed the queen's tail. He held it close and said he wanted to have another child to grow the family. The queen immediately refused the request, but the boy kept holding her tail insistently. Realizing her companion wasn't in his right mind, Rosweise decided to play along. When Leon suggested taking her to see his homeland, she agreed just to avoid upsetting him in that state. The young man then tried to ask for a kiss as a thank you, but the queen pushed him away. She quickly worried she might have hurt him. Soon after, Leon started feeling sick. His dragon mark activated involuntarily. Due to the heat in his body, he leaped onto his wife. She realized the potion's effect mixed with the mark had intensified her companion's instincts. The boy started kissing and holding Rosweise's tail insistently. After looking at each other with an intense connection, the queen finally gave in to a night of romance. Leon woke up startled when he saw Queen Rosweise by his side. He mentioned his whole body was aching. The queen suggested a night like that couldn't be erased from memory. Leon was stunned when he noticed the marks scattered across her body. As he started to regain consciousness of what had happened, the young man felt a tremendous remorse and screamed for the whole castle to hear. Noticing Leon's pain, Rosweise started repeating the smooth lines he had said during the night. The young man asked the woman to stop that torture. He regretted the result the potion caused on his body. He then asked if he had hurt the queen, but she, being a dragon, assured him she was fine. Rosweise revealed she liked the boy's performance and wished he was like that every day. Then, the queen wanted to know what he would ask in return for helping her deal with the kids. Leon requested she send someone to check on his master and his wife in the human empire. Rosweise mentioned dragons weren't good at infiltration, but she promised she would find a way to pay a visit. Later, Leon was taking care of Muen. She noticed her father looked very tired and asked if he was sick. The young man answered no, but the little girl revealed her mother had talked about the medicine that was for him. Leon didn't like knowing the queen shared that kind of subject with the kids. Suddenly, the boy's mouth started bleeding. This left Muen worried, but he assured her everything was fine. To cheer up his daughter, Leon promised to make her a toy and built a Rubik's Cube for her. While explaining how the object worked, he felt a strange presence nearby, as if a dragon's gaze was watching them. Assuming it was Noah training, the young man decided to build a Rubik's Cube for his other daughter too. When she received the gift with a note, Noah scoffed at it because she didn't like childish things, but she soon started solving the toy and thanked her father. The next day, Muen was snooping around her sister's room, who seemed to be hiding something under the bed. Opening the hidden box, the girl found several objects and keepsakes belonging to their father. Noah appeared right after and demanded that her twin sister stop messing with her things. Faced with St. Heath Academy's demands regarding family harmony for admitting students, Queen Rosweise decided to take the family to take a convincing photo in the floating city. Muen begged her father to turn into a dragon too, but Leon was left speechless, while Noah doubted his ability to transform. Seeing this, the queen stepped in and explained that their father was still recovering from his accident. Muen was delighted by the number of dragons, but Leon started shaking so much that Rosweise thought he would get sick because there were so many dragons around the place. The queen asked if he was scared, but the hunter replied that he felt excited, since all those dragons meant rewards for his class. Hearing this, the woman realized she worried for nothing. Next, the family entered a photo studio and was welcomed warmly while the kids admired the portraits. Leon asked the queen why she had to come all the way there to take their photos, and Rosweise explained that the floating city didn't fall under any draconic jurisdiction. The man said sarcastically that she was nothing there and ended up getting his foot stomped on. After that, the photographer showed curiosity about Leon's tail, making Rosweise lie that he didn't like to show it off, although in reality he just refused to wear a dragon disguise. Sometime later, everyone was dressed and ready to record the moment, and Leon praised the kids' outfits. Suddenly, Queen Rosweise appeared dressed up in a black gown, which caught Leon's attention. Noticing his gaze, the woman asked if something was wrong, but he replied that she looked very beautiful. She shot back, saying he would look better with a tail, and right after, everyone got together for the shot, taking the family photos according to the Academy's requirements. While the photos were being prepared, the royal family walked through the city. Leon admitted he was surprised by the family day, but the queen stated that everything was just for Noah's good reputation at the Academy. Then, the girls went to have fun at a shooting gallery, which made the protagonist realize that dragons also had fun just like humans. The stall owner invited the parents to play, and Leon asked for 10 shots to have some fun since the queen was paying for the trip. He felt strange holding the gun because he hadn't used one in a long time. The protagonist missed his first shots, which amused the stall owner, who had rigged the gun to make the game harder. However, Leon then hit all his remaining shots and shrugged off the result as just a stroke of luck. While the kids and Rosweise felt proud, Leon handed out the teddy bears to his daughters. Rosweisa felt warmed by the feeling of a perfect family. Even the queen got a toy, remembering when she wanted one while sitting on her own mother's lap. Soon after, the queen asked to change the focus away from those childish games, even though Leon argued they were there exactly to have fun. The queen then commented on the teddy bear's cuteness, contrasting it with real bears, which were just a food source with tough meat. Suddenly, Rosweisa ordered Leon to go to her room at night to talk. When the time came, Leon walked down the hallway thinking the woman wanted to spend an intimate night together again. He got chills at the thought. He noticed the royal bedroom door was unlocked, and upon entering, realized she was still in the bath. Looking at Rosweisa's silhouette through the bathroom glass, the protagonist felt sure about what would happen. He tried to calm down as the woman stepped out of the bath, certain he would be completely drained of his energy. Rosweisa asks Leon where he wants to start the training. She suggests the living room, the balcony, or a thatched hut. Thinking everyone would see them on the balcony and he would get embarrassed, the protagonist follows the queen to the living room. He throws himself on the couch to get down to business. However, that day's exercise is different. Rosweisa shows the Academy's family compatibility tests from previous years. She suggests they match their answers for the interview. Leon notices that is extremely hard, and the two start a rapid-fire question game to find out each other's tastes. While the queen prefers black, the hero loves silver, but both swear it's just a coincidence. They continue the test on how well they know each other, and in the end, Leon gets more questions right about Rosweisa. The queen gets indignant that he even knows the best position for her to sit and place her tail. But noticing Leon got almost everything wrong about her thoughts, Rosweisa thinks she could open up a little more to him. Leon thinks his partner is angry because he got more answers right on the quiz. To avoid a clash, he gently strokes the queen and asks that they open up more to each other for young Noah's sake. Rosweisa changes the subject and orders the protagonist to write down the right answers to avoid trouble. After a week of practice, the couple reaches 80% compatibility, and the queen gets exhausted from so much memorization. Leon mentions going to his room, but the woman quickly grabs his clothes and orders him to take a bath in her personal tub before leaving. Without understanding why, the hero has his clothes taken off by Rosweisa, who complains about his human smell. While the protagonist relaxes in the hot water, the queen appears to join him to relieve the stress of the past few days. Leon fears he won't be able to handle the situation and runs out of arguments when she steps into the water with him. Rosweisa slaps her tail and warns the man isn't leaving there at all. On the Academy's admission day, Leon got impressed by the size of the place, while the queen looked stressed and worried. At the reception desk, the clerk analyzed Noah's registration form and was surprised by the girl's young age to join the institution. Rosweisa defended that her daughter was very smart and that's why they respected her decision to study. Then, they received the instructions to continue the evaluation. While the girl went to take the written test, the couple headed to the meeting room on the 4th floor. To make a good impression, the queen grabbed Leon's arm with a smile. Looking at the 3 elderly examiners who would conduct the process, the protagonist thought in other times he would wipe them out with a single sword strike. He swore if they failed Noah, he would hunt each of them down at their homes. Vice Director Walter Wilson introduced himself as the evaluator and told them not to be nervous. The couple smiled back, even though they were pretty tense inside. As the questions started, the two remembered the time they studied together and began to answer everything correctly and in perfect sync. The director questioned them about having a baby so early in their marriage, but Leon explained they had relations almost every day. The protagonist stood out as an exemplary husband, and Rosweisa blushed while praising him because she was actually telling the truth. Seeing this, the 3 evaluators concluded that the couple was deeply in love. Finally, one of the directors asked them to ask each other a question that required a truthful answer. The queen said she had nothing to ask, but Leon wanted to know if she liked the teddy bear he gave her as a gift. Rosweisa didn't understand the reason behind the question, but she answered that she really liked the toy. With that, the directors ended the interview and said they'd send their feedback to the Silver Dragon Temple soon. A few days later, a mini messenger dragon landed on the window, and Muin called her sister to let her know. Everyone gathered around the table, anxious to open the scroll, and they celebrated when they saw that Noah passed. Muin cheered with excitement, while Noah smiled sincerely for the first time. The queen thanked Leon for his help, and he reminded her that the girl was also his daughter. To celebrate, Rosweisa decided to host a banquet and asked Leon to help her in the kitchen. On the day of the admission ceremony, the director welcomed the Academy's new students and invited Noah and her family to the stage because the girl got the maximum score on the exam. This made Muin radiant and proud alongside Nanny Anna. Leon was surprised because, on top of Noah's great performance, he and the queen also got the highest score on the family evaluation, so they all went up to speak at the pulpit together. The director asked if the girl wanted to share something with the audience. Noah started by praising her mother, who was staring at her, and also her twin sister, who always supported her. Lastly, To Leon's relief, she gave special thanks to her father for helping her exhaustively with the subjects, which made the protagonist emotional. After Noah bowed, the director suggested that the father kiss his daughter. Leon got startled because he knew the girl's difficult temperament, so he cautiously opened his arms for a hug. However, Noah quickly asked for a kiss from her father to just get it over with. Leon leaned in and kissed his daughter's forehead, while Muin wanted to go up on stage to kiss her sister too. At the same time, the queen felt relieved that she wasn't the one responsible for that display of affection. The director praised the family unity of the Silver Dragons and suggested a kiss from the couple in front of everyone. Leon wanted to attack the director, but to avoid ruining Noah's day, he pulled the queen close. When their lips were about to touch, he kissed the queen's cheek, leaving her speechless at the respect he showed. The crowd kept chanting for a kiss on the lips, and Leon acted casual about it, making Rosweise extremely furious. Next, the director thanks the family and calls up the next candidates. They say goodbye to Noah, promising to pick her up the following weekend, and Muin gives her a tight hug. Noah shows no patience for her father's advice because she doesn't consider herself a child anymore, even though the warnings actually came from Rosweise, who just doesn't know how to show affection. Finally, Leon advises the girl to beat up anyone who messes with her, a piece of advice that comes straight from the protagonist himself. At the castle, Rosweise reads about the effects of blood magic and thinks about modifying the spell to get a better result. Just then, a woman named Shirley, dressed as a maid, enters the office to bring news about an investigation. She reveals she had no success finding Tiger Lawrence and his wife in the Empire, as they disappeared and erased their tracks. Rosweise finds the situation strange since, according to Leon, his master was just a simple farmer, but she asks her subordinate to keep searching while staying safe among the humans. Meanwhile, Leon trains Muin in swordsmanship, but the little one doesn't seem to have inherited her father's talent. The queen arrives to watch, and Muin runs to hug her mother, saying she was very obedient and learned how to use the sword. The queen shows her happiness and asks the girl to go change for dinner, so the girl leaves the area with the maid. Suddenly, Leon puts his training stick against the queen's neck. She warns him that threatening her right inside the Silver Dragon Temple is a beheading offense. Leon claims it's just a stick and wouldn't do any harm, but the queen reminds him that he's a deadly hunter, and any weapon in his hands becomes dangerous. Leon lowers his guard after the compliment, and Rosweise mentions that Noah sent a letter saying everything is fine. The two talk about the girl's personality, and Rosweise comments that she is very proud of her father's intelligence, promising she'll get the highest grades. The queen also reveals that their daughter used to visit him while he slept through projection, and that as babies, the girls only stopped crying when they were next to Leon, showing a very strong blood bond. Leon doesn't care much about the blood bond stuff because he never experienced parental love in his childhood, only feeling that warmth when he was adopted by his master and his wife. He remembers wanting them as his real parents, and how his master's wife taught him to love and care for his family when he became a father, which is why he does everything he can for his girls. Rosweise notices he's lost in thought and asks if he wants to go back to the castle, but Leon changes the subject and thanks her for sharing those things about Noah. Then, the queen asks for help putting on her shoes, and Leon gets the hint. The protagonist refuses to put shoes on the Dragon Queen because he thinks washing her feet is too humiliating, but the woman won't back down since she wants to punish him for the kiss on the day of the ceremony. Leon ends up accepting the task, but comments that putting shoes on her is as easy as shoeing a donkey. Immediately, the queen hits him with an axe kick, and he runs away, doubting she can catch him. Days later, the family waits for Noah's return, who is transported by a colossal dragon named Leviathan. Ross explains that despite its size, the creature is weak in combat and works as transport, having a peaceful temperament that hasn't flared up in thousands of years of existence. Noah steps out of a portal, and Muin runs to hug her sister, though the girl still acts cold when interacting with her father. After returning home, the young girl showed her grades and apologized for getting a 95 on the physical fitness test. Her parents supported her and showed they were proud, while Leon explained that the other students only did better because they were older. He pointed out that his daughter got the highest grade on the combat exam, even though she was younger, which proved she was a great strategist. Noah didn't feel satisfied because she knew her mother was perfect at everything, but Leon revealed he only became strong after a lot of effort, giving the girl some moral support. Next, the young girl asked her parents who would win in a direct fight between them, and both answered they would win. This started an ego clash between the couple, who began to argue in front of the kids. Decided to settle the dispute in practice, the two headed off to fight, followed by their daughters, who got ready to watch the match. Ross started the teasing by asking if the protagonist was already recovered enough to face the Dragon Queen, while Leon stretched to show he wasn't rusty. The queen proposed a bet where, if the protagonist won, she wouldn't bother him for a month, but if he lost, he would have to grant her a wish. Leon hesitated because he didn't know what the request would be, but he accepted the challenge when he imagined the peace of having a 1-month vacation. Right after, the two got ready for combat. The fight began with an impact that even knocked over little Muin's juice. Leon threw a right right hook, but it was masterfully blocked by the Dragon Queen, who then whipped her tail. Leon was quick to dodge and jumped with a flying kick to Ross Weiss's face, who, despite defending herself, slid back from the force of the impact. Having no advantage in close-quarters combat, the queen preferred to keep her distance, but the hunter quickly noticed his opponent's strategy. Ross Weiss threw a kind of spike, making Leon run across the battlefield to escape the explosion, while the girls analyzed the fight like soccer commentators. After that, the queen played dirty and unleashed a dragon fire combo, forcing the hunter to run to dodge it. Ross Weiss poured out almost all of her techniques, but Leon dodged them all, showing his experience against dragons. To guarantee his 1-month vacation, the hero used his lightning magic to strengthen his physical body and went on the attack with a meteor shower. Noticing an opening in the queen's guard, he caught her off guard to show his strength. At that moment, things heated up between the two, and the dragon fire even burned Leon's clothes, but it quickly went out. Ross Weiss commented that her husband got distracted, leaving the girls anxious to know who won the fight. Leon accepted his defeat for letting his guard down at the end. However, the queen acknowledged he was very strong for fighting on equal terms using only physical skills. She then collected on the bet, making Leon collapse to the ground in despair. Seeing this, the kids asked if their dad had died, but the queen assured them he would be fine soon. In the bedroom, the girls didn't understand their dad's apprehension and told Leon to relax, since it would only be one night out with their mom. However, the protagonist feared spending the night under the queen's orders. Muen then guessed that their mother was going to confront their father, just like in the story she had recently read. Hearing this, the queen ordered the end of that conversation with the kids and told them to sleep peacefully, since she only wanted to discuss a few matters with Leon, leading the man away right after. In the queen's room, the drinks already poured didn't cheer Leon up. Ross made sure to remind him that because of the bet they made, he had to follow her orders, but the protagonist preferred to stay sober so he wouldn't be manipulated. The queen revealed she wanted to see the hunter win the fight to get a month of recovery and make the challenge more interesting. Asked why she hadn't given in, Ross replied she had an idea for a game between them. She poured the drink over her own body because of the heat, and ordered Leon to clean her up. Feeling dizzy from the mix of scents, Leon ended up moving quickly toward the woman. He asked if that was enough, but Ross wanted everything clean, and then she used a spell while offering her own blood to the young man. Leon pushed her away, judging that she was performing forbidden magic, which the queen confirmed as the protagonist started to feel the effects of the enchantment. Ross said she modified the incantation so the impact on her own body would be minimal. As Leon grew dazed, the queen revealed that from that moment on, he wouldn't complain anymore when she requested his services. The woman expressed satisfaction seeing the man yield to her will. The queen pulled a magic mirror from her clothes, bought in the Cloud City, which was capable of recording scenes for a short time. Placing the object in front of the protagonist, she asked what he wanted to do at that moment. Even though he was reluctant, Leon said he wanted to kiss her, and the woman ordered him to speak louder, making him repeat the words even though his mind resisted. Ross Weiss was enjoying the situation, but suddenly the hero seemed to resist and turned his face, leaving the woman surprised by his willpower. Suddenly, Leon lunged at the queen and pinned her to the bed, showing an uncontrollable urge to get close to her and starting a long night. The next day, the protagonist woke up worn out and frustrated. While the queen slept deeply, Leon caressed her face, surprising himself with his own involuntary action. Noticing the woman's heavy sleep, he nudged her to wake her up. Then, he remembered that the last time this magic occurred, the queen was knocked out for 2 years. Therefore, with the woman unconscious for a few weeks, he saw an opportunity to escape. Leon opened the queen's drawer to look for items and prepare an elixir to boost his speed, certain she would notice his absence when she woke up. However, his initial hope turned into frustration as he reflected on the time that had passed since he was imprisoned. He put the objects back, considering that returning suddenly would be dangerous, and choosing to wait for news from his master's investigation. Besides, he loved the children too much to abandon them, and wanted to take revenge on the queen for the exhausting night. The children saw their mother sleeping all day, and asked what happened the night before. Embarrassed, the protagonist made up a story that the woman had caught a cold from the night air, and asked housekeeper Anna for confirmation. The maid reassured everyone, letting them know the doctor had already examined Her Majesty, and that she would take over the castle duties. Leon stared at the queen, making Noah sense something suspicious in the air, though the protagonist claimed he just wanted to take care of his wife. The girl then told her sister it was time to leave, promising to return the next day. Right after, Leon got some water to wipe off the queen's sweat, and noticed how helpless she looked. He decided to change her clothes, picking an elegant outfit from the closet and dressing the queen up. Suddenly, the dragon mark started to glow intensely. Leon tried his best to control himself and resist the temptation of her striking outfit, turning to prayers to calm down. Once he regained his composure, the protagonist grabbed a camera to capture her look and started taking several photos. Suddenly, Rosweise moved, startling the boy, but it was just a false alarm. The next day, Muin was worried because she couldn't find her father, while Noah wondered if he had run away by taking advantage of their mother's illness, leading both of them to go out together to look for him. Muin was frustrated about not finding the protagonist anywhere, but Noah seemed to understand Leon's decision to leave. The girl said she had noticed suspicious behavior since the man woke up, and remembered seeing him try to escape during their very first meeting. Even though he got closer to them and built a nice bond, Noah assumed their father was just waiting for the right moment to leave. Muin got upset with this claim, but Noah promised to protect her sister and suggested they hold a farewell ceremony. Meanwhile, Leon was walking behind the kingdom's mountains, with a map provided by the maid Anna, since he wanted to see the places the queen visited and surprise her when she woke up. In reality, this action was part of his revenge plan to provoke her in the spots she liked best. When he saw a massive tree, he thought it was the perfect spot and added it to his plans list. Back at the castle, he noticed the subjects and his daughters gathered in a mourning mood. Thinking the children were just playing, he decided to approach, which left the maids stunned. The man offered to play a little flute and then noticed a photo of himself on the altar. He even thought he looked handsome in the picture, until he realized it was a funeral for himself. The girls could barely believe the man was back, but Leon assured them he had only gone for a walk. Then, Muin ran relieved into her father's arms, who comforted his little daughter, saying he would never abandon them. Next, Noah mentioned she searched for Leon in all four corners of the castle and concluded she had accused him unfairly. After that, Leon sent the maids back to the castle, while Muin took the opportunity to eat the treat offerings from the funeral. Noah scolded her father, telling him to let them know the next time he was going to disappear because Muin had been very worried, and Leon realized his daughter's intention. Noah also confessed she hadn't trusted him, leaving her father surprised by the apology. He understood that the girl just wanted to take responsibility for the family due to her maturity, but that she also needed care and love. Because of this, Leon decided he would do everything to gain Noah's ultimate trust, caressing her and promising to always be with her. The next day, Muin was watching her mother until the queen opened her eyes. Rosweise apologized to the girl for the worry, saying she was still very weak, and asked how long she had slept because she was sure Leon had run away. Muin promptly replied that it had been 2 days. The queen figured that, given the time, the man shouldn't have gone far and it would still be possible to capture him. Suddenly, Leon appeared holding a large fish for dinner, leaving Rosweise surprised while Muin praised her father. Noticing the queen was awake, Leon explained he had only gone fishing while his wife recovered. Rosweise didn't like his tone, so the protagonist told his daughter to take the fish to the kitchen. As soon as the girl left, the queen commented she thought he would run away from the castle. However, Leon made it clear he still had unfinished business with her, and it wouldn't make sense to leave now. Rosweise wanted to know what this business was, and the protagonist mentioned what the queen did to him as soon as she woke up 2 years ago. The queen was outraged that he wanted to get even under those conditions, but Leon seemed to have already prepared his sword for the occasion. Ross got desperate that the protagonist would do something crazy since she was very weak, but Leon dismissed the woman's condition, just as had happened to him before. The queen then threatened to take revenge once she recovered. Determined to do what he had in mind, Leon picked up the dragon woman in his arms and carried her to the cherry blossom grove in the mountains behind the castle, while she struggled in every way to be released. Putting the woman down under a leafy tree, Ross asked why he had brought her there. Leon said he explored the places she liked to visit the most, with that tree being the first destination of the night, which made her angry to know he planned to take her to other locations. Then, he showed that from that spot, they could see the castle perfectly. The queen understood that Leon intended to pay her back for using him in front of his homeland. Leon confirmed his intention and activated the dragon crest, making Ross's crest flash in response. He positioned her to face her fortress, intending to humiliate her in her own domain by being subjugated by a dragon slayer. The queen's mind wanted to avoid the situation, but her body said otherwise. Suddenly, she moved her tail over Leon's arm, surprising him that she still had strength. Ross told him to enjoy that moment as much as he could, because her revenge would be even greater. But for Leon, the party was just getting started. The next morning, both were exhausted in the queen's bedroom. After taking the woman to so many places, Leon was sure he made her very satisfied, realizing his initial plan was to punish her, not to give her pleasure. Even so, he convinced himself that he humiliated her enough by subjecting her to the greatest dragon slayer. He decided to go back to his room before the daughters woke up, but the queen grabbed him by his clothes. Leon admired the defenseless woman and chose to swap his cold bed for her company for the rest of the night. Muin woke up still stumbling and went to get some insect bite ointment. Then she ran to wake up the queen, who suggested the girl go play with her father. The girl then headed to Leon's side, determined to wake him up too, but the hunter was feeling so warm that he wanted to stay in bed a little longer. Muen got annoyed that she had no one to play with, but she noticed this was the first time she saw her parents holding each other so warmly and tightly. When she realized both of them had red spots all over their bodies, the girl swore they were insect bites, and with the medicine in hand, she had the idea to spread the ointment all over their skin. Ross woke up feeling her face wet, and soon after, the couple noticed their bodies were completely smeared with repellent. Leon started laughing at his wife's look without looking in the mirror, while Muen proudly revealed she had put the medicine on both of them to protect them from the bugs. Ross and Leon hid their embarrassment in front of the girl who was waiting for approval, and the father made sure to praise his daughter's effort. Later, Leon brought food to Ross, but the queen did not seem willing to eat. The man insisted she eat to recover, and Ross ended up liking the meal. Leon said it was fried rice made with a lot of love, but the woman got angry when she noticed he was also eating from her plate. In the end, Ross cleaned the plate, and Leon pointed out that he was helping her a lot during this adjustment period, although to the queen, it all felt like an attempt at torture. Leon ironically assured her he did everything with love and affection, which made Ross even more certain that she wanted to get revenge on him as soon as she fully recovered. Angry, the woman delivered a strike that shattered the wall and realized her physical strength had returned. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Leon washed the dishes happy with the situation, having no idea of what was to come. Anna brought the prescribed medicine to the queen, but the woman already felt recovered and did not want to take it. Notifying the broken wall, the housekeeper got startled, but Rosweise explained she overdid her strength and told her to call someone to fix it. The queen asked Anna not to tell Leon about her recovery because she wanted to be taken care of by him for a bit longer, and the housekeeper, understanding the plan, giggled. A few days later, Leon is taking care of Muen when the girl asks to learn the thing that makes the body glow. Intrigued, the protagonist asks why she is interested. The girl explains that Noah is learning many things at school, and she doesn't want to be left behind. Leon decides to help his daughter learn and has her channel mana. Since the girl has no trouble with the first task, he thinks she might be special, but soon Muen complains about being hungry from spending energy. This makes Leon stop the lessons and take her to eat. Meanwhile, Anna delivers a package requested by the queen. Right after, Leon arrives and announces himself excitedly. He thinks he still has about 5 days to enjoy Rosweise's illness. He suggests giving his wife a massage, but the queen challenges him to show the power of the Dragon Slayer. She asks if he is already sulking after only 2 days of work. Leon laughs out loud and replies that he only wants to save his best, which makes the queen worried about his intense appetite. The protagonist starts warming up, promising to make the woman regret calling upon the power of the Slayer. Rosweise shows that she never regrets anything. Under her gaze, Leon gulps as he feels the queen's tail swing into action. He asks if his wife has already recovered her strength, and the woman makes sure to put her prisoner in his place. Rosweise reveals the tools the housekeeper brought to the room, leaving the protagonist cornered. Then, she handcuffs and blindfolds Leon, who feels like a helpless baby. The queen orders him not to resist. Desperate, Leon asks if she wants information from this kind of torture. Even in that state, Leon says he was trained to resist any kind of interrogation. But then, he hears his own voice recorded on a crystal ball brought by Rosweise, begging for the woman's kiss. The young man denies to the end that he said those things of his own free will, but then he bows before the queen and admits he remembers everything. Seeing this, the woman grabs a rod and orders the protagonist to repeat every single one of those words, teaching him a lesson that leaves him unable to get out of bed. Sometime later, the parrot dragon brings a letter from Noah straight from the academy, requesting the parents to come to school in the morning. This makes Leon worry that his daughter got into some trouble. Now in Principal Wilson's office, the girl has a determined look next to 3 classmates with bruised faces, while the principal tells Leon and the queen about the incident between the students. Upon learning that the boys had bothered her princess, Rosweise gets furious, while Leon, ignoring the boys, only wants to know if his daughter suffered any physical harm. Principal Wilson explains that Noah was actually the one who beat up the 3 boys, which makes the parents proud and relieved. To the principal, that situation highlights the difference in temperament between dragons born from eggs and those born from the mother's womb. He explains that while there are no physical differences, skills in youth vary greatly, with those born from eggs usually being stronger. Even so, Noah, despite being born from the womb, beat 3 boys who were hatched, making him believe the girl has a promising future. Just then, the father of one of the boys enters the room. He believes his son hurt someone and offers to pay the medical bills, but he gasps when he sees that his own son was the one who got beaten up. Rosweise whispers to Leon that the newcomers belong to the Crimson Dragon family, known for being very difficult to deal with. The man quickly gets angry, claiming the queen doesn't know how to raise her daughter. This makes Leon step between them, suggesting that the Crimson Dragon's children should stop bothering Noah. The boy's father demanded an immediate apology to avoid a physical fight right there, but the principal quickly stepped in to calm things down and decided to tell the whole story. He explained that Noah's tray bumped into Laurel's clothes in the cafeteria, so when they returned to the dorms, Laurel and 2 of his friends ambushed her. Finally, the principal let the children speak, and Noah asked to give her side of the story. Noah said she was just minding her own business and that the boys started the whole mess. Without any pressure, young Laurel agreed with her version, but the Crimson father wanted to know why his son was so afraid of the girl. Leon then stepped forward to give his take on his daughter's actions, and told her that next time, she should aim for the knee. He knew from his own experience as a dragon slayer that this was the weak point of crimson dragons. Noah immediately grabbed her notepad so she wouldn't miss a single detail of the advice. The Crimson father got furious at Leon's attitude in encouraging his daughter, and suggested right in front of Leon and Rossweisse that the girl should be expelled from school. However, the principal told the dragon to calm down, since only he had the power to expel someone at the academy. He also revealed there were several other reports of young Laurel bullying students born to human mothers. The father yelled again that his son was being treated unfairly, which made Leon raise his voice too to defend Noah, who was only 2 years old while Laurel was almost 8. Leon took the chance to mock the Crimson father, who got extremely angry. The dragon then lost his temper, and pointed out that Leon wasn't dragon enough to show his tail, while also calling the queen and her whole family trash. Leon couldn't take the insult, and snapped the Crimson dragon's finger, while Rossweisse loved being protected by her husband. The dragon asked if Leon knew who he was talking to, and announced himself as the Duke of Leader Constantine, which meant absolutely nothing to Leon. The queen calmly pointed out that this was just a children's fight, with no need to bring family status into it, showing her confidence in whatever decision the academy would make. With that, the principal warned that if the Crimson dragon kept making a scene, his son could lose his right to study at the school. The boy, with his cheeks swollen, begged his father to calm down because he wanted to stay at the academy. The man composed himself, but his glare made it clear that this story was far from over. With everyone calmed down, the principal handed out warnings to the students based on their involvement in the fight, and Noah said goodbye to her parents to head back to class. Leon didn't miss the chance to remind his daughter to aim for the knee. Suddenly, the principal called out to Leon, startling him by approaching from behind. The man wanted to know why he had never shown his tail and which clan he belonged to. Sensing the tense mood in the room, Rossweisse acted quickly and said her husband was just a simple dragon with no clan. The principal seemed to accept the explanation and congratulated them on little Noah's talent. He encouraged the couple to have more children, noting that at this rate the girl would become a leader against dragon slayers. While they talked, the Crimson Duke watched everything with pure hatred. The couple left the school in peace but was soon cornered by the Crimson Duke. Even though he had accepted the school's terms, the Duke challenged Leon to a duel, pointing his finger directly at the dragon crest. Rossweisse knew that turning down the challenge would make the Silver Clan look bad to the noble families, so she whispered and asked if Leon felt confident enough to fight. The young man couldn't wait to face his opponent. The news spread quickly among the students, making Noah realize the gravity of the situation. Everyone went to the balcony to watch the fight, while Leon, completely calm, did his stretches. The Crimson Duke was confident he'd win back the honor his son had lost. He claimed that if his opponent lasted 3 rounds, he'd consider himself the loser. Leon told him to talk less, saying he was short on time. The Duke rushed at his opponent with flames, but the fire didn't even damage Leon's clothes. Leon warned him that only 2 rounds were left. Next, his rival prepared another attack that even cracked the academy courtyard. Leon jumped quickly to dodge, and the Duke spat fire in his direction, which also had no effect. It was time for Leon to counterattack. He kicked the Duke's knee, making him fall to the ground in a rage, shouting insults. Since Leon is human, the insults didn't bother him. He landed a right hook straight to his opponent's face, sending him flying backward. The young man wiped his hands, thinking it was beneath him to use magic against someone so weak. While the henchmen stood there in disbelief at the defeat, Leon ordered them to take their master away and never bother his daughter again. As he turned to leave, the young man saw Noah standing by the stairs. Without showing much excitement, the girl handed her parents a small box with a heart-shaped cookie inside. She mentioned it probably didn't taste good because she got second place in cooking class, but her parents genuinely praised the gift made with love. Noah also praised her father for how fast he defeated the Crimson Duke. Surprised and excited by the compliment, Leon immediately bragged, telling his daughter she could ask him to teach her combat techniques if she wanted to learn. However, Rossweisse didn't seem to like that offer very much. Leon was focused on reading a book about how to train dragons when Rossweisse entered the room carrying a first aid kit. The protagonist immediately thought she wanted to play doctor, but the queen just sat next to him and asked him to stretch out his hand. Leon looked at his wounds and said he'd be healed in a few days. Ignoring his resistance, Rossweisse took his hand to bandage it. As she applied the antiseptic, Leon reflected that he had never received that kind of care in his entire life full of battles, feeling the gentleness of the queen's touch on his skin. He tried to shake off those thoughts, and then Rossweisse thanked him for his help and for protecting the family. Feeling a bit awkward, Leon replied that he did it all for Noah. The queen already expected her husband to act tough, and took the chance to let him know that her sister Isabel had invited the whole family for a visit. Shortly after, the Silver Clan family arrived at the Red Dragon territory, with Muin looking very sleepy from the trip. Isabel welcomed them with great enthusiasm, enthusiasm, and Rosweise introduced Leon and the daughters her sister hadn't met yet. Isabel showed she knew the twins well and correctly identified each one. Muin quickly approached her aunt affectionately, and Noah also ended up accepting her aunt-in-law's warm hug. Isabel revealed she knew Leon's routine, shocking the protagonist, and thanked him for raising her nieces. Leon commented it was only natural, since the girls got along better with him than with their mother. Rosweise immediately disputed his claim, but Leon, who enjoyed teasing her, decided to let her win the argument this time, making Isabel laugh at the couple's ego battle. After dinner, everyone gathered in the living room, and Isabel brought out an old photo album. This excited the kids, but terrified Rosweise, who tried to snatch the album from her sister's hand. Isabel, amused by Rosweise's embarrassment, tossed the album to Leon, who caught it firmly. As soon as he opened it to see the young queen's embarrassing past, the protagonist was shocked by the intense light shining from the photos. Leon told the queen he didn't expect to see her like that, looking so radiant in a student uniform while giving a class speech. He then asked how she became so cold and distant, but ended up getting his foot stomped on to keep him in line. She then whispered for him not to tease her too much, or he might be the next target for her sister, who was happily showing the album to her daughters, who were curious about their cute, small, and defenseless mother's past. After that, Leon stepped closer to look at the pictures too, and Isabel pointed out the photo from when Rosweise became the queen of the Silver Dragons. Once they finished looking at the photos and Rosweise grabbed the album to put it away, Isabel pulled out a crystal ball that worked as a recording device. The object got Leon excited since he knew that draconic artifact well. Rosweise begged like a younger sister for Isabel not to show what was inside, while Leon, as a brother-in-law, begged to see it. The Red Queen decided to grant Leon's request because it was his first time visiting, which made Rosweise so furious she regretted bringing her husband on the trip. Isabel touched the globe, which projected a memory screen, and her sister's eyes widened at the places she had visited. Rosweise tried to cover her husband's eyes, but it was impossible to stop Leon from seeing her speech about how she wanted to choose her future partner. In the recording, she imagined with sparkling eyes that the lucky guy should be smarter than her, have a sense of responsibility, and love kids, qualities that made the daughters identify their father in that dream. Even Leon saw himself in all those traits, making the queen even more embarrassed and furious. Isabel noticed her sister had achieved what she wanted so much, while Leon stood frozen, realizing he fit the perfect husband model perfectly. Rosweise swore that all of that was just a teenage dream, and a curious Isabel wanted to know who made the first move in the relationship. Right away, Leon accused his wife of being the eager one, making her even angrier, which made the protagonist back down and say that in the end, he was the one who pursued her. To top it off, Isabel revealed she had kept some love letters her sister received in the past. While Leon and the daughters enjoyed the revelation, the queen felt like setting the house on fire. Later at bedtime, the couple had to share a room prepared with a bathtub and rose petals, finding themselves in a forced honeymoon. Ross was surprised by her sister's effort in decorating the room, but Isabel justified that the setup was ideal because the family would spend a few days there, telling her sister not to be embarrassed since she was already married. Hearing this, Leon realized his sister-in-law was a hard person to persuade, and that she was eager for new heirs to join the family. When the protagonist tried to go out for a walk, Isabel didn't let him escape, and even when he argued he was going to check on the kids, she explained she had already set up everything for her nieces to have fun. Then, the sister-in-law left the room, wishing the couple a great night. Left with no choice against that woman who planned everything, Ross suggested that Leon sleep in the bathtub, but the drain was plugged, and the tub was already full of hot water. Leon then tested the bed, noticing it was very comfortable, and lay down on the mattress waiting for the queen to lie down next to him. Ross, however, decided to take a bath before sleeping to use the items she found in the cabinet, ordering Leon to leave the room so he wouldn't spy on her. During his walk, Leon found Isabel drinking wine on the balcony and accepted her invitation to join her. While pouring the glass, the sister-in-law revealed that it was Ross's favorite drink, and recalled that the two of them used to talk a lot in that spot in the past. Isabel mentioned that Ross sent letters detailing the marriage from the very beginning, which made the protagonist reflect on the difficult period when his wife went through her pregnancy alone. Finally, the sister-in-law confessed she used to think her sister had married an idiot, but changed her mind after meeting him, adding that it was obvious how much Ross liked her husband, which left Leon surprised. Leon needed to keep up appearances and confirmed that they were in love. Isabel commented that Ross rarely showed her feelings, but she trusted that her brother-in-law would know exactly what to do. Even though he didn't quite understand what he was supposed to do, Leon agreed to avoid embarrassment and promised he'd take care of his wife if there was another pregnancy, protecting her with his life. The Red Queen approved of Leon's dedication and told him to go back to the room where Ross was waiting for him, mentioning that the place had great soundproofing. The protagonist returned slowly, so he wouldn't wake his wife and lay down beside her, admiring her beauty even though they were mortal enemies. Right after, he noticed the woman's chest glowing intensely, but realized the seal hadn't activated in his own body. Ross then opened her eyes and revealed she was hiding a lamp-shaped doll she had found in the cabinet. To resist temptation, Leon lay down, and at that moment his wife accidentally hit her elbow on the headboard. A spider appeared sliding down a web, making the queen throw herself into Leon's lap in terror. He found it curious that even the dragon queen was afraid of something. Then, as he tried to brush the creature away, the protagonist discovered something he didn't expect. Since the spider was a toy, Ross had no reason to be afraid. Still, she ordered her husband to get rid of the object, which he quickly threw out the window. Because of this, Leon wondered if the situation was part of some plan by Isabel to show her sister's weakness. After that, the two lay down, but the queen seemed uncomfortable, which made Leon offer his hand to protect her. Ross accepted the gesture, holding only the man's pinky finger. Annoyed, the protagonist asked if she was disgusted by him, but the queen simply didn't know how to express her need for affection. So, Leon intertwined his fingers with hers to show her how to hold a hand for real, leaving Ross flustered. The hero asked if she was nervous because her hand was so cold, but the queen explained that was just her natural temperature. Meanwhile, she felt Leon's hand warm and calloused from using a sword, and she felt like their fingers were connected by an electric current. Later, the protagonist couldn't sleep and tried to pull his fingers away to avoid a cramp. Ross thought he was poking her and decided to retaliate, starting a caressing movement under the sheets that looked like a blind game of rock, paper, scissors. The desire between the two grew so much that they couldn't resist and joined together, promising it would only be for that night. At that moment, the desire was mutual, and the dragon crest didn't activate, but the spider appeared again. From her sister's scream, Isabel realized they had discovered the surprise she prepared for them. However, Leon hugged his wife and promised everything was taken care of. Ross Weisse commented that her husband's heart was beating fast, and he confessed he was also afraid of spiders. The queen promised she wouldn't do that kind of thing with Leon anymore, and the two decided that after that night, they wouldn't talk about it again. In the morning, Ross Weisse woke up alone in bed, worried about Leon's disappearance, but figured it was for the best, since she felt embarrassed for showing her weaknesses and sleeping in the arms of a human. She got dressed and left the room, where Isabel was already waiting for her to get the news. Ross Weisse, even though she enjoyed it, didn't want it to happen again. Isabel asked if the couple used the toys, but Ross Weisse dryly denied it. Then, Isabel promised to wrap up party favors for them to take home and pressed her about a new baby to inherit the Red Castle. The Silver Queen didn't want to continue the conversation and dragged her sister to breakfast. Leon was already in the dining hall playing with the girls while they waited, and Muen was happy to see her mother approaching with her aunt. Everyone sat down for the feast, but the atmosphere between the couple was gloomy, as both refused to believe they got involved without the influence of the crest, while trying to accept that a real feeling was emerging. Then, their hands touched while reaching for the peanut butter, and they stared at each other, not understanding what happened the night before. Isabel, however, knew that the mattress prepared in the guest room activated the attraction between the couple, and the Silver Queen fumed. Although deep down she was grateful for the Red Dragoness's trick. Leon and Ross wanted to hide their faces from sheer embarrassment, amusing Isabel, who suggested the couple go back to the room to take another bath, but they rejected the idea. To change the subject, the Red Queen asked about the trouble with the Duke at their daughter's school, and the couple confirmed it happened, mocking the dragon's weakness. Isabel then told them that the Duke ran to leader Constantine and gave a highly exaggerated version of the facts, which made Ross Weisse outraged, while Leon remembered that the dragon's name had already appeared in his studies. Isabel warned the couple to stay alert, because leader Constantine was expanding his territories and could use the case as an excuse for an invasion, but Ross wasn't intimidated by a potential attack on her sanctuary. On the day the Silver family was set to return home, Ross said goodbye to her sister, promising to return soon, and received a gift from Isabel to open later. Then, Isabel hugged her nieces, who hugged her back with affection, and asked her brother-in-law not to break their agreed promise, leaving Ross Weisse curious before she transformed into a dragon for their departure. Isabel went back to the castle looking forward to her next nephew, and when one of her trap spiders came down from the ceiling, she was sure that Leon protected his wife with great courage. During the journey back, the protagonist wondered if Isabel had found the surprise he left for her.
He concluded that the two queens were very different from the boss dragons he fought before, because they valued family and love, and he also noticed how Isabel had trusted him. Ross wanted to know what conversation he had with her sister, but Leon decided not to tell her just to tease her, making her almost throw him off her back. At night, back home, the couple put the girls to sleep.
Then, the protagonist suggested that the queen give a live demonstration of what he saw in the old recordings, since his goal was to get revenge on her using embarrassing childhood moments, like taking a bath and washing her tail. Ross Weisse got extremely angry, remembering the embarrassing moment her sister put her through while Leon laughed a lot. but despite everything, the nostalgic crystal ball survived. Ross decided to teach Leon a lesson, but the guy ran away when he realized she wasn't playing around. However, the queen ordered him to go to her room in 10 minutes for extra classes. Leon realized he talked too much, but he liked knowing that Rossweiss's dark past was her weak point, deciding to tease her as much as possible for the sake of the dragon hunters. While the queen prepared for combat without knowing about Leon's plans, time passed and the young man showed up in the room, asking her to go easy. Rossweisse, who was all dressed up, ordered him to call her master. Leon obeyed to avoid worse suffering, but the woman took on the role of the mean teacher and beat up the undisciplined student. The guy realized she was role-playing and decided to cooperate, apologizing for being a bad student. Rossweisse asked if he was ready to hand in his homework, making him suspicious, and explained that the assignment was to make her mark flash more than usual. If he failed, the punishment would be painful, but Leon was sure he wouldn't have any trouble because he knew every single detail of that move. Finally, the queen praised Leon's progress. She was excited and wore the new clothes she received as a gift from her sister. Despite all the guy's effort, Rossweisse commented that the assignment was just the warm-up, and there was still more to come. Leon was already exhausted from studying so much, but teacher Ross was strict and wanted her student to understand the subject perfectly. Because of this, he began to feel the effects of the dragon mark, which prevented him from stopping his studies. The teacher started to like the dedication of her student, who knew exactly what she liked. After practicing a lot, both managed to solve the equation and ended up exhausted. Noticing he had finished the task, the student started getting dressed to leave, but the teacher pulled him by his clothes because the exam was even longer. The protagonist felt desperate because of the woman's huge interest in studying. The next morning, when the tasks finally ended, the queen felt refreshed, while the hero looked like a zombie. The kids noticed their father's worn-out look as he acted completely on autopilot and explained he had studied all night. Noah was curious to know if adults had homework too, and Ross explained that everyone always needs to learn something. The twins became thoughtful, and Muen concluded that when their father is doing bad, their mother is doing great, and vice versa, shocking the couple. Leon was pleased with the girl's sharpness and swore to protect her if anyone ever called her silly. Next, the transport dragon arrived to take Noah, who gave a cold goodbye to her mother and sister. Leon shyly wished his daughter a good day at school, and she stared at him for a moment before leaving. The family watched the little girl go, and Leon asked Muen what her plans were for the day. Noticing that he was weak, Muen wanted to run on the training field to make him strong, making Ross curious to see how that exercise would end. Leon and Muen started stretching and warming up, until Rossweisse showed up in sportswear to join the fun. Little Muen got excited about her mother joining in, but Leon took the chance to tease his wife, telling her to be careful not to sprain her ankle since she was out of shape. In response, the queen reminded him that she won their last match despite all his excuses, which made their daughter excited to see another clash between her parents. Leon said the girl shouldn't talk about fighting all the time, but Muen asked if her father was scared to fight. The hunter replied that he only lost last time because he wanted to, claiming he just blocked the queen's punch with his nose. With that, Rossweisse activated her tail and challenged her husband to a race, a challenge Leon accepted right away, claiming he had more stamina than her. The two got into position and Anne started the race. During the run, Leon asked if her wagging tail didn't get in the way of her performance, but Rossweisse explained that the limb actually helped her balance. After 2 laps, Muen gave up on the race and got a drink from Anne, while the parents kept running at a fast pace. Knowing that silver dragons were very fast, Leon decided to give it his all for the honor of dragon hunters. However, Rossweisse didn't make it easy and took the lead with determination. 20 minutes later, the hunter was completely exhausted, while the queen pressured him to accept defeat or keep running, making him ask for 2 days of training to beat her. Rossweisse commented that not even 2 years would be enough to defeat her, and warned that the loser would get a punishment later. Leon complained that it was unfair, as his sword would end up worn out from being sharpened so much. Then the queen called Muen to continue the exercises because her father was already exhausted, but Leon stood up and shouted for them to never underestimate him. Muen tried to help Leon eat, but her father couldn't even stand up. When the queen suggested better preparation, Leon argued that it was the fault of studying the night before. The queen then suggested they keep practicing, which almost gave Leon a heart attack. To escape, he grabbed his daughter and promised to spend the night with her telling bedtime stories. The girl found the attitude strange since they hadn't agreed on that, but she preferred to stay quiet. The queen accepted the truce, to the husband's relief and the little girl's happiness. During the night, Rossweisse was walking down the castle hallway when her informant arrived with news. The confidant reported that Leon's master had left the empire and changed his identity along with his wife, besides donating all their assets and animals to a local orphanage. The couple took only a small donkey with them, which left the queen intrigued since Leon always talked about this animal. Rossweisse ordered the investigations to continue, and after the young woman left, wondered why Leon's master had left the empire. Days later, Noah came back home and said the school was organizing a family sports day. The queen commented that in her time, parents didn't participate in this kind of event, and Muen wanted to know what place her mother got back in her school days. Very proud, Rosweisa answered that she got first place, making the girls ask about their father's performance. Leon said he couldn't participate because he was always too far ahead of the others, but he won a gold medal anyway and melted it down to make a bracelet for his grandmother. Ross was surprised by the story and wanted to know if Leon would participate in the event at Noah's school, since she really wanted to win first place even without getting grades for it. Looking at his daughter, Leon realized how much she inherited her parents' competitive drive. He and the queen decided to participate in the activity together, while Muen, who also wanted to compete, had to settle for just cheering with all her might. Finally, Leon declared that if everyone did their best, they could win that special day. Leon started his physical preparation for the school event along with the queen, who was also stretching. The protagonist noticed how any kind of clothes looked good on her, and since the children were still asleep, Rosweisa suggested to her husband that they start their warm-ups. The two started practicing, with Leon curious about what kinds of activities they would have at the school event. He seemed relaxed when he learned they were sports, similar to those of humans, but the queen warned him that in the dragon world the situation was harder. The protagonist made sure to say that Hunter's training wasn't easy either, but the queen took the opportunity to tease him, saying he had gotten tired quickly earlier. Leon defended his performance, blaming the tiring night of schoolwork. Rosweisa then proposed that if they got first place, he'd get a week off. Motivated by the reward, he promised he'd be the best competitor and dashed off, shocking the queen. At the end of the warm-up, the young man was tired, but his stamina had increased because of the motivation. Rosweisa, knowing the dynamics of this kind of event well, grabbed a rope so they could train as a duo. Leon thought his wife wanted to punish him, but she explained it was for the three-legged race training, an exercise he had only seen once at the Hunter Academy. So, the couple tied their legs together. Leon felt uncomfortable because of the physical closeness and decided to start the training right away, but the queen didn't move, since they hadn't decided which way to go yet. A bit impatient, Leon pointed the direction and the two went to the grass completely out of sync. When they decided to run, the queen charged forward quickly, dragging the hunter behind her. Rosweisa commented that he couldn't keep up with her pace, and Leon made excuses for his performance. Next, he decided to organize their synchronization to coordinate their leg movements and suddenly held his wife by the waist. He assured her it was just so they could coordinate their steps as they moved. Thus, the two started jogging in a steady rhythm and managed to move forward without falling. Rosweisa took the opportunity to dictate the training style, and every time her husband thought about giving up, she threatened him with a kiss. On the big day of the competition, Principal Wilson made the welcoming announcement to the crowd. Muen was in the stands with her pom-poms, while Xiao Luo introduced herself as the commentator of the event. The first event would be the relay race, and the family was ready for the challenge. Noah decided the strategic order, setting her mother to run first and her father last. Ross promised her daughter she'd hand over the baton as fast as possible, and everyone took their starting positions. Leon set Noah up and asked if his daughter would cheer for him, and the girl confirmed in her shy way before the two celebrated with a fist bump. At the start, Ross stayed focused while Muen screamed for her from the stands. As soon as the referee signaled the start, the queen bolted with determination and took the lead, impressing the commentator with her speed. However, Misty from the Electric Dragon clan quickly closed in on the competitor. Leon is surprised by his opponent's pace, but Misty's husband guarantees that the Silver Dragons aren't the only fast ones. Leon, who knows the history of this dragon type in battles, considers the clan cowardly. Right after, the Electric Runner takes the lead. The commentator asks the opinion of the event's president, Duncan, but the man replies that nothing is decided yet. The Electric husband continues to brag to Leon, who agrees with his opponent's ability, though he keeps full confidence in Rosweisa. The Silver Queen activates her sprint and takes back the first position, surprising the Dragon Runner with her physical explosion. While the children wait in their positions to receive the baton, Ross completes her part and Noah continues the race. The Electric competitor also passes the baton to her son right after. Finally, Leon gives a thumbs up to his wife, who says she expected nothing less than first place. Noah runs firmly until she's overtaken by the Electric family's son. However, the girl won't give up, especially with the support of her twin sister in the stands. The parents wait for the children to approach to receive the baton, which is delivered by their kids almost simultaneously, starting the battle between the fathers. Meanwhile, Noah apologizes to her mother for losing the lead she had built. Rosweisa supports her daughter, pointing out that the other boy is bigger and older, and then calls the girl to go to the finish line to cheer. The Electric opponent is very fast and holds a 5-second lead in the race, but Leon is obsessed with his vacation and promises to fight until the end. The commentator gets more and more excited, while President Duncan prefers not to comment. Suddenly, Noah shouts, calling Leon dad in front of everyone. The protagonist almost trips over the news, but her words fuel a phenomenal sprint. The opponent dragon tries to stop him with an electric shoulder tackle, but Leon resists and overtakes his rival. The dragon ends up tripping over his own feet, leaving the path clear for Leon to cross the finish line in first place. Noah runs toward him extremely proud, and the protagonist gets emotional when the girl calls him daddy. Right after, the electric father, Gordon, accuses Leon of cheating to the judges. Leon defends himself by showing the shock marks on his shoulder and claiming the dust was only caused by his speed. The judge asks the families for calm and says he will investigate the situation. At that moment, Ross Weisse approaches to understand what is happening, but Thor, the leader of the Electric Dragons, is the president of the referee committee. Leaving the couple suspicious, the opponent family is sure they will benefit. However, Lord Thor informs them that he checked the VAR with the judges and disqualifies the Electric family. Gordon still tries to argue, but gets pushed aside by the leader, who apologizes to the Silver Dragons for his people's behavior. Ross took the opportunity to say he expected the old man to discipline his vassals well, because the Electric guy's attitude could have seriously hurt his husband. Thor guaranteed he'd punish the dragon as soon as they returned to the kingdom. Right after, Leon commented that his wife was good at these diplomatic matters, but Ross asked him not to call her wife out of nowhere. Soon after, the commentator continued the activities, explaining that this year the family's scores would be unified. Noah followed every competition eagerly, just like her parents, who were determined to win everything. Ross wanted to do whatever it took to make them one of the 3 families to win the grand prize. With that, they arrived strong for the final stage, called the Kitchen of Love. In this phase, the couple had to prepare their family's typical dish in just 1 hour to be evaluated by the panel of judges, without being allowed to untie the rope from their ankles. Leon and Ross decided to combine something simple to avoid making fools of themselves, and in the draft, they received the task of cooking cream puffs. Since neither of them knew how to prepare the treat, they decided to follow the recipe step by step. While they got sorted with the ingredients, they watched young Noah, who was one of the finalists in the balloon arena. There was some dirty play going on against the little girl in the game, but the opponents didn't know Noah's bravery, as she slid between the other 3 and popped their balloons. Noah came out as the youngest winner of the activity, leaving Muin jumping with joy in the stands at his sister's feet. While Leon showed confidence in the little dragon's ability, Ross bragged, until her husband saw some dirt on her nose and went to wipe it off. In the end, this simple act was enough to leave the judges charmed by the couple's cuteness. Leon and Ross were applauded by the viewers for the affection they showed, in a way comparable to a tactical soccer analysis. However, the protagonist secretly wished to end that lovey-dovey mood, and the queen shared the exact same thought. Shortly after, the meal was served, charming the judges with the beauty of the dish and making the director's mouth water. Leon commented that he and his wife loved preparing desserts together, although his true desire was to see the queen covered in cream, a feeling he constantly fought against. Noticing the couple's agitation, the director asked what the secret of the recipe was, and both guaranteed it was love. With that, the Silver Dragons achieved the maximum score in the activity, making Leon assume they were at the top of the overall scoreboard and imagine he'd finally have a 7-day vacation. However, the prize received for first place was precisely a 7-day family trip to the hot springs. Thus, the protagonist realized he'd have no rest, needing to deal with his wife and daughters who were extremely excited for the trip. Back at home, the family celebrated their victory. Noah thanked her parents for their dedication in the event, but they replied they only did their duty. Meanwhile, the queen got annoyed by Leon's lack of excitement for the trip. Right after, Noah asked everyone to close their eyes for a surprise and hugged her family members shyly. She kissed Leon, who stood frozen after the girl said she would call him daddy, even if they hadn't won. This left the protagonist dazed and moved to tears. The next day, the family went to buy swimsuits in the Sky City, but Leon was clearly regretting losing his desired vacation. Ross Weisse asked what he thought of her beach outfit. Even though the hunter sincerely said the queen would look wonderful in anything, his face still showed defeat. However, when the woman tried on a more daring option, Leon fell backward at the sight. Fearing that the dragon mark would shine brighter than the sun, he thought it was better for her to choose another bikini. Ross Weisse noticed her husband wasn't happy, but she argued that since the kids were happy, he should be too. Because of this, the queen promised she wouldn't touch him during the trip, though she teased him, saying it would be a different story if he couldn't control himself. Leon guaranteed that, as a dragon hunter, he would resist his wife's charms, but the doubt remained in the air. The next day they arrived at the resort, and the receptionist welcomed them happily for being the winning family of the school event. The employee handed over the cards for 2 rooms, which left Leon puzzled about how they would split the space. Noticing the hunter's reaction, the receptionist offered a larger honeymoon suite, making him quickly change the subject and head to the bedrooms. Fearing being left alone with the queen, the man offered to sleep in the room with his daughters. However, Muin replied that she learned from Aunt Isa that everyone should stay in their own space. leaving Leon paralyzed by the rejection. Roswitha found amusement in her husband's despair and the girl's independence. She then called him to enter the room, leaving the hunter trembling, knowing what awaited him. The queen was delighted with the view of the place, and Leon was surprised that she had never been there before. Since the woman was always busy with castle duties, she decided to bring a camera to record the good times. The protagonist then wondered if that was the camera he had used before. The queen confirmed, explaining that the object was her prize for winning first place in a school event back in the day. Leon panicked, because he had used that exact camera to take pictures of the woman in a bunny suit while she slept. For this reason, he refused to hand over the device before deleting the images. The man decided that he would take all the photos of that beautiful trip himself, and the queen didn't object. After that, the family went for a walk, and the girls took the opportunity to make various poses for photos, besides feeding the animals. While Leon took more photos, he observed the queen's beautiful smile, and she gave him a teddy bear as a gift. The gesture was in return for the time she also won one in the Cloud City. Leon made fun of the gift, commenting that he gave a king bear to the woman and received a baby plushie in return. Upset by the dismissal, Ross tried to take the toy back, but the man didn't let her, explaining he was only joking. Later, the girls were sitting and waiting for their ice cream, when Noah mentioned she felt jealous of her sister for being able to express herself openly with their parents. Muin suggested her twin do the same, but that was hard for Noah, who felt older because she was born 20 minutes earlier. Ross cared for them with firmness and love, but Noah, seeing her mother sitting next to an still unconscious Leon, noticed sadness in her. At that moment, the young girl wished she were older to take care of her family above all else. Because of this, she decided to mature and become good at everything she did, keeping her mother from being sad. Then, Muin confessed she was also jealous of her older sister, leaving Noah surprised by the revelation. To Muin, her sister was good at everything she did, and she wanted to be just like her when she grew up. However, Noah didn't seem to know what she would be in the future, other than the couple's daughter, who approached at that moment bringing their ice cream. During the night, there was a fireworks display. The children were so happy that even Leon started to like the idea of the family vacation, but he soon became suspicious when he saw Ross holding the camera, reviewing the photos they recently took. Leon almost choked, since the photos of the queen dressed as a bunny girl were still saved in the device's memory. To distract her, he offered her a candy, but she didn't pay attention. He then unwrapped the candy and put it directly into her mouth, but she kept her eyes on the camera. As a last resort, Leon brought his face close to Ross's, but she quickly pushed him away. Then Ross realized there were no photos of Leon and decided they should take one together, claiming it was just for record keeping in case their daughters asked. They then posed making peace signs with their fingers and took the photo. The pleasant night continued, and while Noah played with Roswitha, Leon wondered how such serious people could have so much fun. At the same time, little Muin was already fast asleep in her father's arms. Leon lay down in bed exhausted, and the queen asked if they were going to sleep together. The young man jumped up and told her to go to bed first, saying he was going to take a bath in the hot springs. Once in the pool, he tried to relax while thinking of a plan to run away from his wife until Roswitha showed up. She just wanted the camera to take pictures of the fireworks. Since the device was hidden under his clothes, Leon tried to cover it up, but Roswitha grabbed the object. Desperate, the young man stood up and invited her to join him in the water to distract her. The queen warned him that she was wearing a proper bikini and that he better control himself, but the young man assured her that a good hunter always maintains control. As soon as she went to get her swimsuit, he took a deep breath to prepare himself, focused on protecting the photos. Roswitha returned looking very gorgeous, making Leon almost choke, but he promised himself he wouldn't give in to his wife's charms, who thought he was being too confident. The two stared at each other in the water in a tense atmosphere, while the queen watched to see if his dragon crest would activate. Suddenly, her swimsuit starts to dissolve in the water, since it was a gift from her sister Isabel. Despite the shock, the queen likes the effect, and looks at the player with mischief. Leon tries to look away, but Roswitha moves toward him, and the young man is on the verge of losing control. Leon is already used to the queen's strategies, so he decides to play along. He remembers that if the mark on his chest glows first, it means she is the one trying to tease him. Roswitha didn't expect this reaction, and says she can control herself perfectly. Leon takes the opportunity to propose a challenge, which is accepted right away with the promise of 7 more days of vacation for the hero if he resists. Then, the fireworks start, and they both decide to enjoy the moment. However, the queen uses the situation to constantly remind him of the dragon mark. Since Leon knows her swimsuit is her weak spot, he decides not to look in that direction. Even so, the queen starts singing to seduce him and claims his mark just glowed. Leon looks back, but but it's just a trap to make him stare at her body. Noticing the provocation, Leon decides to touch the queen's tail to hit her weak spot. She quickly pulls her tail back as she realizes his plan, but the hero keeps squeezing the spot with force. Rosweiss almost gives in to temptation, but she resists and asks for Leon's hand so they can watch the fireworks together. The gesture leaves the young man confused because his heart always races when he holds the queen's hand. They interlock their fingers, and the hero takes a deep breath while she begs him to just let the marks activate already. Then, Leon pulls Rosweiss against his body, and at that exact moment, both marks glow simultaneously under the light of the fireworks. The next day, the kids try to wake their parents up, but the couple doesn't answer at all. Worried about the situation, the girls decide to eat first before investigating what happened. Meanwhile, Leon wakes up with a hangover and feeling less guilty, since they both let the dragon mark glow the night before. He admires the queen's face, remembering their first passionate kiss, but decides to get up to avoid feeding his feelings. Rosweiss, who is only pretending to sleep, opens her eyes feeling embarrassed about her own emotions and wraps herself in the blanket to resist the urge to kiss him once more. The day went on at the pool with Noah having fun shooting Muin with a water gun. Still feeling a bit awkward, the queen asked why Leon didn't go play with the girls, but the protagonist refused, saying he already spent too much time in the water the previous night. Rosweiss tried to start a conversation about last night, but another couple interrupted them to praise the children. During their chat about honeymoons, the visitors mentioned they chose that resort to avoid the dragon conflicts in other regions, which made the queen worry about Constantine's moves. Right after, the wife, Yuna, commented that the two of them seemed very solid. This made Leon think that they were so solid they only kissed for the first time last night. Seeing the girls playing, the newlyweds revealed their desire to have kids and asked for advice. A very embarrassed Rosweiss replied that they just had to let things happen, while Leon only watched his wife's fake attitude. Then, the husband, Zai, wanted to know how the protagonist resolved couple fights. Leon took the chance to tease the queen, who pretended to play along and pinched his back. However, the protagonist soon started talking about how important it is to protect and care for his wife, leaving Rosweiss shocked to realize that, this time, he was being serious. Back at the castle, the queen started working in her office and received updates from her investigator, Shirley. She found Leon's master's hiding place in a spot very hard to reach without flying. Rosweiss asked how the man and his wife got there, and Shirley commented that the master was the strongest dragon slayer she ever met, capable of easily killing her if he wanted to. The queen became thoughtful at the worrying statement, since the investigator was excellent at stealth. Shirley then revealed she got caught, but when she mentioned the Silver Dragon Kingdom, the man let her go with a message for the queen. Rosweiss froze upon learning that Leon's master wished to see her, but being fearless, she accepted the meeting. Next, she flew alongside Shirley to the location, which had a waterfall, where the man wished to speak to the queen alone. Rosweiss headed to the waterfall and ordered the investigator that if she didn't return in an hour, she would know what to do. Crossing the water, the queen found Leon's master sitting and drinking tea. The man cordially invited her to sit next to him, while Rosweiss noticed his aura was just as powerful as Leon's when she first met him. The master started by saying he waited 2 years for this meeting, and, under the queen's watchful eye, asked where Leon was. Rosweiss dryly replied that he was alive but still her prisoner, and that he always failed his attempts to return to the Empire. This reassured the master, who figured the protagonist had to be important in this situation for them to come looking for him. The queen commented that Leon was already at the end of his penance, but the master suggested she shouldn't let him return to the human empire next year, leaving Rosweiss intrigued. The man explained that after the battle against the Silver Dragons and several losses, Leon ended up blamed for the failure. That's why he asked the queen to keep his disciple under her guard a bit longer. Rosweiss accepted the request, as long as the old man told her everything about the hero's past. The man found the request strange, but he handed over a chest filled with all the love letters Leon had received since his academy days from the girl who would become his future wife. Rosweiss was shocked at first, but she saw it as a great trump card in her hands, making the master assume she was thinking of a new kind of torture for the boy. Next, the queen saw a drawing among Leon's things and wanted to know what it was, and the old man explained it was a drawing the protagonist made of his ideal type of girl. Realizing that the queen fit his disciple's desired traits perfectly, Rosweiss asked the master for more embarrassing information, but he refused to speak out of loyalty to his pupil. To convince him, the queen showed him recent photos of Leon. The man then went to fetch an item called White Moonlight, which belonged to the hero, and started to reveal several of the boy's secrets while the queen wrote everything down. The old man also revealed that if she asked Leon questions in the middle of the night while he slept, he He would reveal secrets in his sleep, like his hatred for carrots, and he was even capable of taking orders while sleepwalking. The master revealed that Leon's first love was a decorated female donkey he tamed in his youth, which even kicked him in the nose when he tried to shoe her. Roswesa felt relieved and wondered why she would feel jealous of a donkey, questioning if the animal's tail was bigger. Next, she showed photos of Leon to the man and asked for something to prove his existence. The master handed the queen a letter that would prove the boy was alive, and she left, warning him that she didn't want to keep him locked up for a year. Soon after, Charlotte approached her husband asking about the conversation. The man showed her the photos where Leon seemed to be living comfortably, and because of this, he grabbed his sword, determined to restore the young man's honor as a gift for his granddaughters. Meanwhile, at the Dragon Castle, Leon was worried because the queen had left without warning for 2 days. When she returned, she made sure to cook dinner. Muen liked the steak she got, but the protagonist was annoyed by the large amount of carrots on his plate. The queen reminded him that he always told their daughter to eat vegetables because they were rich in vitamins. Not wanting to contradict himself, Leon ate the carrots, but he kept wondering how she had found out he didn't like them. When the queen mentioned she was going to sleep with him that night, the hero almost choked. Roswisa entered the room wearing black clothes and, without much ceremony, sat on the bed and called him to lie down with her, while Leon, who was reading, realized what was going to happen. Leon, noticing the woman was anxious after being away for 2 days, took off his pajamas. After half an hour, since the woman remained quiet by his side, the boy asked if they were just going to sleep, and Ross replied yes, asking what he expected. Not wanting to back down, Leon turned to the side and thought it was for the best, as he would recover his strength this way. The queen waited until the middle of the night to ask the boy something and decided to do a test, asking for their youngest daughter's name. Half asleep, Leon answered Muen. Next, she wanted to know what kind of girl he liked, and the hero mentioned the queen's own physical traits. Ross asked why he had rejected the girl from school, and Leon confessed he didn't like her very much, making the woman furious that he had dragged the young girl along for so long. The queen asked what he liked most, and the protagonist said he preferred mature women dressed in bunny suits. Roswisa asked if he would like to see his classmate in that outfit, but Leon said no. She then wanted to know who he would like to see in those clothes, and the father said he wanted to see the Silver Queen dressed in a bunny suit. Roswisa was surprised because she didn't expect that answer and wanted to know why, but Leon fell asleep before explaining, making the queen promise she would go harder on him next time. The next afternoon, while Muen was playing, Leon asked what time the queen had left the room. Ross teased him, asking if he missed her, but Leon brushed it off, saying that since it was her castle, she could sleep wherever she wanted. However, the protagonist was surprised when the woman mentioned she heard him talking in his sleep about regretting not accepting a high school classmate's confession. Leon claimed that was a lie, because in his youth, he only thought about serving the Empire. The conversation was interrupted when Noah returned, leaving Leon curious as he saw his daughter bringing a scroll. The girl said the scroll was just a school project about family and happiness, explaining it was like an essay contest. According to her, their family had an advantage because they weren't born from an egg like most dragon families. Muen got curious about what that advantage was, and the parents were surprised when she mentioned that their special difference was the couple's love. Next, Noah asked her parents for help to get motivated, which would require them to go on a date in the Celestial City. The two went to the city just like a first date. Although he felt the situation was a bit forced, Leon suspected his daughter for knowing what a date was, considering her smarter than the others. The protagonist wanted to know if the queen had ever been on a date like this before, but she explained that she always prioritized her responsibilities. Since Leon confessed that he never prioritized that kind of thing either, the two didn't know how to behave, but they both studied the subject by reading romance manga similar to their own story. The queen pulled out a list of activities to do, and Leon figured that would be enough to deliver a perfect project for their daughter, while Noah secretly followed them taking notes for her essay. After a moment of exchanging rings, the two went to a fortune-telling tent, where the queen was impressed by the seer's accuracy. Leon wasn't convinced by the revelations about the queen, but he changed his mind when the woman started describing his own traits based on his sign. Then, the seer talked about their love, which made the couple embarrassed. The woman then decided to check their future in the crystal ball, and as soon as Leon placed his hand on the artifact, it glowed with a hidden surprise that wasn't just about the queen's bunny photos. The witch saw Leon imprisoned, to Ross's joy, and swore she could undo this situation for 100 coins. However, the protagonist thought the offer was a scam and decided to leave the place. To keep her clients, the woman revealed that the couple would have many children, but they left the tent without paying much attention to what she said. Already far from the place, Leon asked what the queen thought about the prediction of their possible offspring. Although Ross didn't think that was possible, she liked the idea of the date with her husband. Leon tried to hide it, but deep down he was also enjoying the walk, so they decided to head to their last destination with their daughters right behind them. The couple stopped at the beach to watch the sunset, but since the place was full of couples kissing, they decided to walk along the sand in peace. Then, Leon got struck by the sun's reflection on the queen's silver hair. Ross noticed her husband staring at her and wanted to know what was going on, but the hero claimed he was just admiring the sun. Ross tried to bring up the classmate Leon supposedly dreamed about, but he denied being involved with another woman and guessed she was feeling a bit jealous. The queen quickly covered Leon's mouth. She mentioned he said weird things in his sleep and ran away right after. Curious to know what his wife was hiding, Leon went after her. The kids watched the scene from afar and wished they had a camera to capture their parents' cute moment. However, Anne taught the girls that the best moments should be kept in the heart. Meanwhile, the couple had fun with a sand fight. Suddenly, Ross Weisse tripped, but Leon caught her by the waist before she fell. With their faces close, the two kissed. Anne made sure to cover the kids' eyes from the grown-up scene. The mood got a bit awkward between the two, but the queen reached out her hand to the man, who didn't hesitate to interlock his fingers with hers. That's how the date ended. It went better than expected, as Noah got the top grade on her essay presentation about her parents' love. Back at the castle, Leon tried to hide the bunny photos he managed to print, but he heard the queen's footsteps and quickly threw himself on the couch to act natural. He then asked if she was going to sleep in his room again. Ross Weisse asked if he liked bunny cosplay. This made Leon almost have a heart attack, thinking she found out about the photos. However, the queen said he talked in his sleep about wanting to see his school friend in a costume. Leon claimed he would never say that about the girl. He let slip that if it were the queen, that would be a whole different story. Ross Weisse didn't expect that, but she decided to tease the man a bit more, saying she would never dress up like that. Leon felt relieved realizing she didn't know about the photos, but he asked if the queen would make that wish come true. Ross Weisse said no, even though deep down she wanted to. She ended up challenging the man to pull off such a feat. Then Leon went to the drawer and grabbed the photo. The queen quickly burned the pictures. Leon enjoyed seeing her furious as he explained he took the photos when she was passed out after the blood curse. Hearing that, the queen got completely enraged. Leon explained he didn't mean to bully her. She made the challenge herself and you can't argue with evidence. Accepting the situation, Ross Weisse asked what the protagonist wanted. Without thinking twice, Leon wished to see the woman dressed as a bunny in person. Ross Weisse thought about denying the request, but Leon threatened to show the photos to her sister Isabel the next time they visited. The queen stood up and went to get the outfit against her will. Then, Leon mentioned he would go to her room at 7 o'clock to check the result. He felt satisfied being in control of the situation. At the agreed time, Leon went to the woman's room. She was completely covered up and explained she couldn't find the bunny ears. Leon pulled the cloth covering her and saw she was all dressed up. That left him very impressed. To him, the woman he thought he hated looked great in the cosplay he loved most, acting shy. Continuing the punishment, Leon grabbed a small stick to teach the bunny student. The queen got irritated by the payback, and Leon ordered her to repeat the Dragon Slayer's code. Ross Weisse tried to bargain because she considered that an insult to her race, but Leon promised to punish her if she didn't obey. The queen started reciting the verse with a choked voice, and then she got a spanking. She questioned why she was punished if she did nothing wrong, but Leon made it clear he wanted the Slayer's creed out loud. Ross Weisse repeated the phrase with more emphasis, showing embarrassment. Meanwhile, Leon looked satisfied with her performance. When everything was recited, the queen asked if the class was over yet. However, Leon took off his shirt and informed her that right then, the cultural appreciation class would begin. With the woman in his arms, Leon explained it was something like learning about diversity. That was enough to notice the queen's mark start to glow and leave her almost hypnotized. So, the couple shared another kiss, which was already something natural between them. The teacher told the student to turn around and, pressing her onto the bed, ordered her to recite the Slayer's creed one more time. Ross was in disbelief at the request, but she obeyed and started the recital while Leon caressed her. Then, the queen said she couldn't stand reciting anymore and asked to be punished. This made Leon intensify the action. After a few hours, with the queen exhausted, the protagonist commented she did very well in class and decided to go to his room. However, overcome by anger, Ross promised to get revenge as soon as she found the photos. The next day, while Leon exercised with Muan, Ross desperately searched for the photos in the hero's room. She understood that way she would take back control. Hearing a noise in the hallway, the queen hid quickly upon realizing the protagonist returned. After Muan went to play somewhere else, Leon found it strange the bedroom door was cracked open. Smelling Ross's perfume, the hero realized the woman was there looking for the photos. Noticing she was in the bathroom, Leon pretended he was leaving to grab a coat. That made the queen think it was the right time to leave. But as she stepped out, Ross bumped into the smiling protagonist. Out of shock, she locked herself in the bathroom again, indignant at the man's attitude. Leon took advantage of the situation to tease the queen by acting like a teacher. That left Ross Weisse irritated and determined to stay locked inside. Then the boy threatened to give the photos to Isabel. That made the queen open the door immediately. He then entered the bathroom and took Rosweise to the shower to punish her under the water. Hours later, the two are exhausted in bed, and the queen decides to ask the sleepwalking boy where he hid the photos. She gets no answer because Leon is fast asleep, but she insists and asks him to take her to the place. The young man grumbles and gets out of bed, with Rosweise following him through the castle hallways until they reach the garden. The queen finds it curious that the path they took is the same as her first punishment, and she realizes Leon is faking it. However, the boy reveals her spell actually worked, making Rosweise notice he really doesn't know he's a sleepwalker. Right after, Leon decides to punish the queen again and presses her against a tree, making Rosweise shout that the Dragon Slayer only thinks about one thing. The next day, Rosweise writes down the cruel things she suffered from Leon in her logbook, thinking about what she could use against him to turn the tables. She then decides to use the trump card she has up her sleeve. When the Slayer arrives at the office looking confident, the queen smartly shows him the document, revealing it's from his master. Leon tries to grab the letter from Rosweise's hands, but she quickly proposes an exchange for the mischievous photos. The Slayer suspects a trick, but the queen threatens to burn the letter right away. Remembering he still has a copy of the photos hidden, Leon decides to pretend he lost the battle and hands over the images in exchange for the envelope. Rosweise looks at the photos, relieved they didn't fall into her sister's hands, but she finds one of them curious and decides to keep it as a souvenir. On the other hand, Leon is outraged to read that his old master only wrote for him not to rush, making the queen cover her mouth to hold back her laughter. While the Slayer tries to understand why his master doesn't want his return, Rosweise recalls that the man had indeed asked her to hold on to the hero for a bit longer. The queen deduces that the master wanted to see the hero training with her to increase his strength. Leon counters that he's the strongest Slayer and doesn't need training, though Rosweise reminds him that he was still captured anyway. Next, the Slayer proposes another challenge against the woman, who replies she already beat him, leaving him furious. Later, Leon trains his daughter Muen while trying to figure out why his magic power hasn't recovered. Although his physical stats are normal, lightning magic is his main trump card, and he needs to find out how to get it back to defeat Rosweise. His thoughts are interrupted by his little daughter, and he tells the girl he's just practicing his lightning magic. Muen then gets curious to know what kind of magic she'll awaken. Since regardless of race, a being's awakening always happens through a primordial elemental force, and in rare cases it's even possible to awaken two powers. Leon asks the queen for the library key to help with Muen's development. Ross hands over the key, showing no interest, but the protagonist's real goal is to find some study to help him recover his own magic power. Before that, the queen wanted to know which primordial power he had awakened, and Leon answered it was lightning. Curious about what Muen's awakening would be since she's a hybrid child, and dragons always awaken fire first, he asked the queen which element Noah had awakened. The woman muttered reluctantly that it was lightning, and when Leon asked her to speak up, she shouted that it was the same element as her father. This made the protagonist proud, suggesting that Muen do the same, but Ross promptly claimed it would be fire, starting an argument between fire and lightning. Next, Leon took Muen to the queen's private library, leaving the girl excited with the amount of books. He started teaching theoretical lessons on how magic works, and explained that mental strength was simply the mage's will to achieve their goal, giving the example of grabbing a book. Muen understood that she just had to combine physical energy with mental strength, which made Leon proud. He told the girl to finish her homework and started looking for materials in the queen's secret section. The protagonist found a book on magic circuits, but since it wasn't what he was looking for, he kept snooping around, aware that his search would be long. During dinner, Muen got full from the amount of steak she ate, but Noah, who had returned home, suggested they take a walk to help with digestion. Then, the couple went to wash the dishes, and Leon took the chance to ask if next Tuesday was the queen's birthday. Rosweise confirmed the date was October 25th, explaining that she counted years differently, since adult dragons only celebrated their birthday every 10 years. The queen wanted to know if her husband planned to give her a present, but Leon said no, explaining that a prisoner couldn't give presents to the one who defeated him. Hearing this, Rosweise asked for at least some affection as a keepsake, and suggested he throw a birthday party for her. Leon argued that she already had many subjects to organize the event, but the queen mentioned that the children had begged for a party while he was in a coma. Feeling pressured because he didn't want to disappoint the kids, and knowing that as a prisoner he had to follow the queen's orders, Leon promised he'd throw the best human party for her. Rosweise accepted the proposal, but warned that if she wasn't satisfied, she'd demand to be compensated in another way, sealing another deal between them. After that, the routine continued with Leon teaching Muen, while Noah read a book nearby. As soon as the class ended, Noah, who also wanted to learn lightning magic from Leon during her vacation, came over. The father took the moment with his daughters to ask what Rosweise liked the most. Muen answered immediately that it was him, but Noah commented that what really mattered to the queen were unforgettable moments. This information helped Leon decide what he'd do for his his wife on her birthday, making him leave to start the preparations. On her birthday, the queen was carrying her presents but hadn't seen Leon since early morning. Because of this, she decided to look for him in his room and found him there with a surprise cupcake. The queen was impressed by how humans celebrated the date and tasted the cake, but Leon explained that humans only eat after blowing out the candles and making a wish. When she saw the number of candles, the queen thought it was a prank. Leon explained that humans use one candle for each year, and since she was 218 years old, the cake was full. Realizing he was teasing her, Roswisa ordered him to help her blow them all out, which filled the room with smoke. After that, the queen made her wish, making the protagonist curious. Suddenly, she announced out loud that her wish was for the prisoner to never escape. Leon thought that was unfair, but he didn't argue since it was her birthday. He cut the cake and gave the first slice to the queen. However, she got suspicious when she saw him take the piece with her name on it, joking that it was great to eat a sweet and sour cake just like his wife. Rosweiss got angry and promised revenge on his birthday. Seeing her reaction, Leon decided to show her the second present right away. He snapped his fingers and used his static energy magic to write a happy birthday message in the air. The queen was amazed, since she believed good things never lasted. Rosweiss admitted she was very impressed by the surprise, and Leon mentioned he had experience with this because he always organized the birthday of the donkey back in his hometown, a comparison that didn't go down well. The next day, while Leon got the cake to share with the castle staff, Rosweiss felt sleepy and noticed their pet had grown a bit. Leon commented that the queen was being lazy, but she defended herself, saying she worked constantly without any days off. Right after, this minor fatigue was enough to make her dizzy. Leon rushed over to check if Rosweiss had a fever, but since she was just feeling nauseous, the queen kicked him out of the room. A few days later, Leon was studying with his daughters in the library, still searching for a way to fully recover his power. He asked Noah what power she thought Muin would awaken, and the girl replied that fire would be best to please their mother. However, Leon explained that you can't choose those things. Noah took the chance to ask her father to teach her lightning magic during the holidays. Leon got worried because his magic wasn't at full strength to show off his power to his daughter. He panicked, thinking how embarrassing it would be if Noah decided to learn from her mother instead. Despite this, he promised he would teach the girl the best lightning magic, and she jumped into his arms and kissed his cheek to thank him. Because of this, the father promised himself he would get his magic back before the holidays. Then he started thinking about what could have drained his power like that, and if it had something to do with the dragon crest on his chest. After all, the crest was placed on draconic couples to seal their pact. Although Ross only put it on Leon to torment him, if she knew it would weaken him, she would have taken advantage of it by now. To test his theory, Leon decided to activate his power and noticed his magic flow decreased as it passed through his chest. Realizing there was another source draining his energy, the protagonist tried to figure out who was stealing his strength, especially since his body didn't detect any abnormalities. Because of this, he got the idea to focus part of his magic on the dragon crest, since the slow process allowed him to keep a charge. A few days later, the queen noticed the hero was in a very good mood. The reason was that Muin was about to awaken her power. Ross was sure she would inherit her fire pattern, while Leon believed her lightning power would show up. Just as the girl focused near the magic circle, her parents ran into the hall, each rooting for their own side. Muin was happy to see them, and they both cheered her on. Then, Anne signaled that everything was ready for the awakening ritual, and Muin stood in the center, focusing all her strength. The queen was surprised her daughter managed to manifest her power on the very first try, but to Leon, this was normal due to her hard training. Muin then awakened her fire power, making Rosweiss happy, and she made sure to tease the protagonist. However, Leon noticed something different. The awakening wasn't over yet, and suddenly sparks of lightning started to appear around Muin's fire, leaving the queen speechless. The girl managed a double awakening. Leon already foresaw this due to the youngest's potential as the daughter of the Dragon Slayer and the Silver Queen. This extremely rare event pointed to a destiny of incalculable power for Muin's future. Happy to awaken both powers, the girl went to her parents. They temporarily forgot their power struggles. Then, the family celebrated with a special meat banquet. The little girl thanked her parents by handing a chicken drumstick to each of them. During the meal, Leon noticed the queen barely ate and asked if she was on a diet. Rosweiss denied it, even though she gained a little weight in recent months. But her husband mentioned she would get too skinny if she lost more weight. To retaliate, the queen put oysters on Leon's plate under the excuse that the food would help keep his blade sharp. She warned she wouldn't let him sleep that night. Muin found the situation funny, not understanding the reason for her father's worry. Later in the office, the queen felt very unwell. She decided to postpone the kingdom's duties to the next day. This attitude surprised her assistant, Anne. She was perplexed to see Her Majesty ask for time off from work. Rosweiss, in fact, felt an uncontrollable sleepiness, even after sleeping a lot the night before. Meanwhile, Leon trained Muin in using lightning magic. The girl claimed she understood the attack and defense features of that power. Rosweiss approached and asked why her husband didn't teach fire magic to their daughter too. In response, the girl practically demonstrated what she had learned. That left the queen impressed by her daughter's fast evolution in just 2 days. Weisse asked what Muin achieved with fire magic, but the girl said her father hadn't taught her yet. She said it was a type of magic that only served to burn weaklings. Facing the revelation, Leon thought he should have kept his mouth shut. Meanwhile, the queen demanded immediate explanations. Embarrassed, the hero said it was too much to learn at once, but the girl insisted her father spoke poorly of fire magic. That made Weisse want to properly understand the situation. Innocently, Muin said her father was trashing her mother's magic. This left the queen irritated. Without the little girl understanding her mother's reaction, Ross pulled her husband by the arm and declared the end of the classes. At dinner, with the nutritionally balanced banquet served, Leon thought that would be his last meal before the torture. So, he said he had no appetite. But the queen insisted he clean his plate. Weisse decided to spoon-feed the man to keep him strong for the rough night ahead. Leon almost choked and leaned over the table, but the queen reassured their daughter, guaranteeing everything would be fine with her father. Weisse took the protagonist to the bedroom and laid him on the bed. She reappeared dressed as a nurse, making the hero get a nosebleed. Realizing the start of a new roleplay, Leon ordered her to change clothes. Ross didn't listen. She positioned herself in front of the man and claimed he wasn't cooperating with the treatment. Then, the woman smacked a clipboard on the boy's head. Seeing he had no escape, Leon decided to play along, saying he felt chest pain. Ross ordered her patient to undress to check all his injuries. At that moment, the dragon mark on Leon's chest started glowing. Since the queen's mark was also intense, she decided to give the boy a full exam. But suddenly, Weisse ran to the bathroom to throw up, finding all that nausea strange. Leon then noticed the queen was pregnant. The woman got indignant and claimed she always took care of it by using a purification magic to prevent pregnancy, which she said worked 100% of the time for dragons. Leon suggested his wife get an exam and promised that no matter the result, he would be by her side. 10 minutes later, the queen took the test and the result was positive, leaving the couple in near despair. Leon started listing the times they slept together, and the queen swore she used the purification magic every single time. Then, he remembered that on the day of the blood curse, she was knocked out for 3 days. Ross lunged at Leon, blaming him for what happened, but the young man reminded her that she was the one who grabbed him. After that, Leon stepped closer to comfort the heartbroken queen and said that this time she wouldn't be alone during the pregnancy. Weisse blushed at Leon's attitude, but quickly composed herself and explained how a dragon's pregnancy worked, making it very clear that she couldn't be crossed, and Leon got the message. From that day on, Leon started doing everything Weisse wanted, and she loved bossing her husband around while imagining who the baby would look like. Leon was sure the child would take after him, since the twins proved his genes were strong. However, because they had tails, the queen believed the daughters looked like her, an argument the protagonist couldn't win. To try and change this, Leon spoke to Weisse's belly, asking the baby to be born without a tail, which made the queen furious. After that, to keep up with the pregnancy, he started studying several books on the subject. His real goal was to find out how to make a dragon baby inherit more human traits, proving that human genes could overcome dragon genes. Leon then used a portable recording stone to capture the prenatal sounds. While the queen was sleeping, he placed the object on her belly and started telling stories to the baby praising the human race, even reciting a poem about the greatness of men. The next morning, Weisse woke up irritated because she had a nightmare about turning into a human. The queen started praying to the dragon god, while Leon thought his method might even convert his wife. Soon after, without noticing her husband's intentions, Weisse asked what he would teach Muin, and the protagonist replied he would have her practice fire magic. The queen gave instructions on how the class should go, and after Leon left without arguing, she lost her appetite, knowing that many things would change with the baby's arrival. Leon concentrated his lightning power and was happy he could store it in his dragon crest. Realizing it was getting late, the young man decided to put his plan into action. Meanwhile, Queen Weisse couldn't sleep at all, wondering why Leon was avoiding talking about the baby. Because of this, she decides to go to his room pretending to sleepwalk, but they end up switching places because Leon went to her room. Weisse gets scared when she sees the open window and runs back to her room, while Leon jumps in to hide so he won't get caught. The queen already knows he's hiding nearby, which makes him afraid of getting caught. Weisse uses her tricks to show she's way ahead of him. A bit later, Leon tries to sneak out of the closet, but she gets up before he can escape and asks what he's doing there. He immediately locks himself back in the closet. Weisse starts singing for him to open the door, but Leon shouts he'll never do that, while the queen enjoys the situation. Leon appeals to Weisse's pregnancy, saying she shouldn't play wicked games, but the queen assures him she just wants to talk. When the hero sneaks out of the closet, Weisse demands to know the real reason for his break-in. Leon lies that he was just worried, making her look at him with disgust. She then pounces on him, giving him one last chance to tell the truth. The hero remains calm, believing it's not right to play around during pregnancy, but the queen has other plans for his punishment. Roswitha snaps her fingers, magically binds Leon's hands, and grows her tail. Seeing the hunters panic, she starts tickling him, promising to make him feel a lot of pleasure. Leon boldly comments that her tail is way too small, which only makes the queen want to torture him even more. The hero turns red and tries to focus on other things to avoid temptation, but he ends up exhausted on the couch after she whispers in his ear. Roswitha then notices that the dragon mark on Leon has changed color. She even feels her own tail tingle from a slight shock caused by the lightning stored in his mark. Realizing his power has dropped a bit, Leon thinks of an excuse to avoid wasting more energy and suggests she go to sleep soon because of her pregnancy. Before agreeing, the queen insists on knowing why he broke into her room. The hero uses his smooth talk, claiming he was truly worried because she's the most important person in his life. Roswitha buys the story, saying she'll get her revenge later, and bans him from entering her room after 7 o'clock. Relieved, the hunter gets the message. During dinner, Leon thinks it's a good opportunity to tell his daughters they're getting a sibling, though he doesn't really know how to do it. He asks if Muen gets sad when she's alone, but she says she's totally fine. The father gets straight to the point and asks if she'd like the family to grow, and Muen replies she's dying to get a slime. Roswitha then explains she's pregnant and their family will get bigger soon, making Muen jump right into her mother's arms. Leon felt relieved by the girl's reaction, but Noah, always more focused, asked if the housekeeper Anne already knew. The queen revealed she would only tell her in a few months so it wouldn't disrupt the housework. Next, Noah suggested the couple should stay together all the time to avoid problems. This left the parents speechless, since the queen had decreed that after 7 was off time. They tried to make excuses to their daughters because they had no intention of sleeping together. However, Noah spoke firmly, saying pregnancy was a serious matter, and suggested a vote to decide if their father should sleep with their mother. Muen immediately raised her hand, agreeing with her sister. Leon assumed the queen would vote against it and they could just move on, but Roswitha decided not to participate in the vote, leaving the protagonist frozen for a moment. With no other choice, he accepted the verdict, much to the kids' joy. To make sure there was no backing out, Noah decided to team up with Muen and immediately move Leon's things to their mother's room. For the protagonist, this was actually good, because he could put his baby brainwashing plan into practice. Roswitha noticed her husband was very happy with the news, but Leon quickly hid it, saying it was all for the sake of the children. Leon helped the kids move his bags, and since it wasn't much, they finished quickly. While going through their father's bag, the kids found an interesting outfit. Leon, embarrassed, explained they were just old clothes the queen planned to throw away. Next, the girls saw matching bunny pajamas in the closet that their parents had never used. For Muen, since their parents were going to sleep together now, this was the perfect opportunity for them to wear the outfits for the first time. Suddenly, the girl asked if they would stay together forever. Ross and Leon gave awkward smiles and happily confirmed, which made the kids happy enough to leave them alone. Ross then pointed to the separate bed where Leon would sleep, but she got annoyed when he said he would only accept sleeping in the royal bed to take care of her, especially if a spider appeared during the night. Ross guaranteed there were no spiders in the castle, but later she couldn't sleep because she was afraid of the bug. The queen decided to wake up Leon, who was trying to rest for his lesson with Muen the next day. Ross changed her mind and invited her husband to sleep with her in the main bed. But since Leon was proud and didn't give in, the woman ended up squeezing into his bed and snuggled into his arms to chase away her fear. Shortly after, they heard a noise in the hallway, and the queen remembered the pajamas. The girls were there to check if their parents had kept their promise to wear the bunny outfits, so they sneaked in and saw the two pretending to sleep while wearing the pajamas. The scene was very convincing to the girls. Muen commented that she had seen this before, and even helped her mom and dad with ointment for bug bites, while the sisters promised they would take care of them if more marks appeared. Leon took the chance to whisper that they were spicy marks, which made the queen pinch him to keep him quiet. Playing along, the protagonist kissed the dragon queen, who couldn't move so she wouldn't raise any suspicion from the kids. Soon after, Muen felt sleepy and decided to go to bed, so the daughters left the room feeling like they accomplished their mission, making the couple laugh. After that, Leon felt his dragon mark glow and decided to go back to the couch, but the queen asked him to sleep with her, and soon they both fell asleep in each other's arms. The next day, they went to the Sky City to buy the necessary items for the pregnancy. They couldn't find the Jade Dew dragon fruit, which Ross explained was essential to help with the pregnancy and stabilize her hormones. To avoid his wife's fury, Leon ran through the city to find the fruit, until he spotted a contest where the grand prize was the blessed Jade Dew. The protagonist signed up, and the event host announced that the competition would be fierce, dividing the participants into groups. Ross noticed that many women were cheering for their husbands and also gave her support timidly to Leon, who felt more confident. The activity was similar to musical chairs, and the competing dragons didn't seem strong, with the exception of one who showed a mysterious aura to the hero. The first round of the event ended with only the hero and the mysterious woman remaining, whom Leon considered as strong as his queen. To avoid becoming a punching bag for his pregnant wife, the protagonist needed to win the next competition, called I Have It and You Don't, where the one who accumulated more life experience is scored. As a strategy, Leon let his opponent start. The woman started by saying she had a sister, and Leon replied he had a wife. Then, she continued saying she had 2 nieces, but the protagonist shot back that he had twin daughters. As the answers continued, Ross noticed from the crowd that the woman looked familiar. After Leon mentioned his little donkey, the opponent revealed she still had her first kiss, which left the hero outraged that there was a virgin in an event aimed at pregnant women. The woman won the competition and left the hero frustrated. However, not wanting to disappoint Rossweisse, he ran after the winner to buy the fruit she had won. The woman explained she only participated for fun and asked for a good reason to sell the prize. Leon then explained his wife was pregnant and needed the food to get stronger. The opponent assumed he loved his wife very much to do anything for her, and the protagonist confirmed he loved her more than anything, a declaration that was heard by the queen. Hearing this, the woman gladly handed over the prize and revealed herself as Isabel, the Red Queen, congratulating them on the baby and leaving the couple surprised. After that, the family gathered to have tea, and Isabel wanted to know the details about the baby. Leon explained they discovered the pregnancy recently, and that they would write to her sister as soon as they returned. Isabel pretended to believe the couple, but revealed she was in the city to find out the movements of the conquering Red Dragon, Constantine. Isabel explained that the Red Dragon, Constantine, was willing to clash with the Wind Dragons due to his great ambition. However, Rossweisse believed the Wind Dragons were too solid to yield easily. Since the Wind Kingdom bordered 2 of her lands, Isabel was helping with the defense. Rossweisse commented that it would be a very difficult battle for her sister if she got involved, but Isabel stated she couldn't sit idly by, as she would be the next target if the Wind Dragons fell. The Silver Queen offered some soldiers to help, but Isabel refused since she already had everything aligned with the neighboring kingdom. Meanwhile, Leon just watched the conversation about the upcoming war, realizing that resources are always the cause of disputes, no matter the race or kingdom. He remembered his master's words about the great gears of the world and how he was just a screw in the system to satisfy the Empire's will until he was backstabbed by an undercover member. In the middle of that conversation, Leon tried to understand why he was betrayed. Rossweisse noticed her companion was nervous and distracted, but when she asked why he was stressed, he just changed the subject. During the farewell, Isabel reminded Leon not to forget his promise. Rossweisse got curious, and her sister revealed that he had promised to take care of her during her next pregnancy. Impressed to see that the young man was following the agreement to the letter, Isabel suggested the queen shouldn't let that good catch go. Rossweisse replied that the boy also wanted to stay with her forever, which made Isabel leave to escape all the mushiness. Right after, the queen took the chance to confirm Leon's promise, but he changed the subject and ran off to get their daughters, with his wife chasing after him. That night, Leon found it strange that his wife didn't look for him for their couple activities, though this helped him concentrate more power in the Dragon Mark. Leaving the bathroom, he noticed Rossweisse was still awake working and asked if she was going to sleep. The queen questioned his worry, and Leon explained it was just because of the baby. Knowing how he is, Rossweisse told him to get straight to the point. The young man declared his only worry was becoming the king of the Silver Castle and taking care of everything so she could rest. The queen replied she was far from retiring and would ask for help when needed. Leon commented that by the time that happened, he'd already be dead since he's human, but Rossweisse revealed she already had a mage in mind to turn him into a puppet. After going to bed, Leon waited for the right moment to continue his prenatal education plan. Time passed, and Rossweisse checked if Leon was already asleep. However, her husband thought she would use some magic to force answers out of him and stayed quiet to see what would happen. The queen, suspecting nothing, asked if the promise he made to Isabel was true, and Leon confirmed he would protect her with his life. Rossweisse blushed and asked if he really cared that much about her, since they were enemies and that went against the principles of a dragon slayer. Leon replied he didn't see her as an enemy anymore and loved her deeply, leaving the woman speechless while he enjoyed the joke. Without noticing the trick, the queen wanted to know when his feelings had changed, and he replied it was a long time ago. Still, she noticed something was different, since he was answering for much longer than on previous occasions. Realizing she was being fooled, Rossweisse decided to play along and asked if he started liking her because of the bunny outfit, commenting she felt like wearing it again. Leon kept listening, and finding the situation wonderful, decided to take a look to see if she was changing. At that moment, the queen was already behind him with bad intentions, and suddenly pinned him down, confessing she was touched by his words. Leon tried to get out of it by saying it was all a misunderstanding, but she was determined to hear everything he had to say. The hero asked to be untied, but the angry queen threatened to make him choke on her tights, outraged that he had lied even to her sister. Leon justified that half of what he said was true, and, facing Rosweiss's doubt, asked if she wanted it to be true, leaving her speechless. Out of arguments, the dragon mother started suffocating her husband with a teddy bear. Even while suffocating, Leon noticed there was something hidden inside the toy. With that, he quickly snatched the plushie and ran off to find out what she was keeping so secret in there. Leon found a photo hidden inside the toy, but the queen swore she just forgot to throw it away. Right after, she used her tail on the boy's arm to grab the picture back and tossed it over the balcony without any ceremony. Suspecting there was something written on the back, he wanted to know what it was, and indeed, the photo lying in the garden had a sweet note about love. The next day, while training with Muen, the little girl mentioned she noticed her parents had a fight. She realized they were distant since they used to talk non-stop before. Leon found her observation interesting, and his daughter explained that her parents seemed like the hedgehog couple from her children's stories. They were prickly on the outside, but sweet on the inside. With that, the father promised that everything would be back to normal the next day. During the night, the queen went to the garden to look for the photo. She regretted her pride when she couldn't find it, since it was a one-of-a-kind keepsake. Suddenly, Leon appeared with the picture in his hands. He explained he found it during his training with Muen. When she got the photo back, she refused to back down and claimed she was just taking a walk, but the protagonist told her to be more careful with her things. In the end, the two returned to the castle bickering while he brought up the hedgehog story, and Ross ended up framing the photo on the family wall. 2 months later, winter arrived. Noah told her father she learned B-rank lightning magic at school, which made Leon very proud of his daughter. Because of this, he decided to teach the girl a highly advanced power, manipulating lightning in his hand and leaving her surprised. Then, Leon focused the magic, locking onto a target, and unleashed the strike with full force. Noah was amazed by her father's technique and asked if the move had a special name, to which he replied that the technique was called Lightning Pierce. Meanwhile, Rosweisse, who was already 4 months pregnant, watched Muen make a snowman and helped her daughter shape it. Muen felt the snowman was missing something, and when Leon approached, she asked where its nose was. Rosweisse then pulled a carrot out of nowhere, much to the agony of Leon, who hated that vegetable. Worried, he disapproved of his wife going out in the cold, fearing she might fall, but Rosweisse assured him her tail helped with balance and wasn't just for pleasing her husband. The queen also mentioned she was already bored of being so pampered in the castle. She thought about teaching fire magic to Muen or playing a snowball fight, but Anne quickly approached and scolded her for her boldness. Without ceremony, Anne and her assistants dragged Rosweisse back to the castle. Leon, who just watched while being cursed at by his wife, thought the housekeeper was right to take the prisoner back. Rosweisse's pregnancy went smoothly in the winter with Leon's presence, as he even encouraged her in Pilates. With summer approaching, the birth was also near, and the maids assisted Her Majesty in her big moment. While the woman pushed with all her might despite the pain, Leon remained anxious beside the little girls waiting for the result, feeling helpless with his wife's contractions. The screaming was so intense that even Muen gave up on the idea of having a little brother, so Leon comforted the girls so they wouldn't worry, promising to take them to the beach after the birth. Suddenly, a fireball slammed through the wall. Leon shielded the kids as he identified the Silver Kingdom soldiers in action, certain it was an enemy attack. The girls panicked until the maids showed up to check on them and announced it was an attack by the Crimson Clan. This made Anne very worried about the queen's fragility, but the midwife warned that Shirley was already with the elite squad to help with the defense. Anne ordered them to send messengers to neighboring kingdoms requesting aid, as well as to clear a path through the mountains to evacuate the castle. A dazed Rosweisse noticed something was wrong, and the housekeeper informed her they were under attack by Constantine. The queen tried to get up to help, but Anne stopped her, promising to do everything for the safety of Her Majesty and the family. Rosweisse was worried about her daughters, but Leon appeared with the children to calm her down and promised he would protect them to the end. With tears in her eyes, the queen released Leon to use his armor, so he grabbed the key to join the war too. Before leaving, he knelt in front of his daughters, said he would come back to take them to the beach, and then led the new front to drive out the invaders from the Silver Kingdom. The battle outside was intense, and Shirley learned from Anne that the neighboring clans hadn't sent reinforcements. Facing this, Shirley attacked the enemy soldiers without mercy with her blades, outraged by the lack of support from those who'd be the next targets if the Silver Kingdom fell. Right after, one of the kingdom's agents showed up to report that Isabel's army had been intercepted and would take a long time to arrive. Anne and Shirley found the ambush very strange, since few people knew the expected date of the queen's labor. Suddenly, the two of them spotted the colossal dragon king of the Crimson Flame, Constantine. The terrible enemy unleashed a massive blast of fire towards Shirley, who froze in fear. However, Anne jumped quickly to save her from being incinerated. Right after pulling her friend away from danger, the housekeeper ordered Shirley to head back to report the enemy king's appearance. Anne wasn't willing to surrender to that dragon, especially because of everything Rosweisse meant to her. So, the housekeeper transformed and flew toward Constantine without any hesitation. Meanwhile, the employee managed to return to the castle to warn them about the enemy king's arrival, making one of the servants assume that this was the end of the Silver Clan. clan. Inside the castle, Rosweiss wished for nothing but Constantine's death. One of the agents reported that the escape route was clear, but the queen insisted on giving birth in her own home, whispering that she placed her hopes in Leon. The hero, for his part, stared at his armor, eager to wear it. On the battlefield, the silver dragons were no match for Constantine, who ordered his guards to capture the queen. But when the enemy soldiers tried to invade the castle, they were struck by an extremely powerful bolt of lightning. Constantine himself recognized the strength of that attack, coming from Leon Cosmode, who appeared wearing his armor. Seeing the warrior, Anne bowed even though she was injured. The Crimson King quickly realized that man was the Silver Kingdom's trump card, and Leon challenged him as he put on his war helmet. The Crimson soldiers trembled before Leon Cosmode's aura. The Crimson King ordered the convoy to eliminate the hero with their flames, but Leon blocked the attacks with his armor without even moving. Then, he unleashed his power and electrocuted the lackeys all at once, leaving the Silver Guards surprised by his strength. Leon ordered Shirley and the troop to handle the red soldiers, leaving the enemy leader to him. Although she hesitated, Shirley obeyed her sovereign's orders and the troops charged into battle with vigor. Intrigued, Constantine took his human form to get a closer look at the Dragon Slayer who was helping the Silver Clan. Leon was surprised to realize that the enemy leader knew of his existence, understanding that the attack wasn't just about expanding territories. From Constantine's hateful glare, it was clear he was plotting something worse. However, Leon was determined to defend his wife and daughters, while Constantine laughed at his reasons, considering family to be the hero's weak point. To Leon, his family was his source of strength. The hero blasted the dragon with his lightning, but Constantine blocked the strike with his wings. Knowing the wing defense left the opponent's back vulnerable, Leon unleashed a furious attack against the Red King. Even so, at close range, he noticed he couldn't pierce the enemy's armor. Constantine emerged from the flames full of hate. He returned to his dragon form to wipe out his opponent, but Leon wasn't intimidated and claimed he had already slaughtered bigger dragons. The red dragon unleashed his flames, but Leon dodged and counterattacked with an S-rank lightning called Celestial Attraction of 1,000 bolts. It engulfed the great dragon's entire body. Facing this, Constantine recognized the opponent was a real threat to his whole clan. Determined to eliminate him, the dragon blasted another powerful flare. For a few seconds, he lost sight of the hero. Leon appeared on the dragon's back. He remembered his promise to protect his family above all else. He slammed his lightning blade down with overwhelming force. Constantine turned in time and counterattacked. It caused a massive explosion that brought new life to the heart of the Silver Dragon clan. Then, Leon watched the sunrise while his opponent's body lay fallen and motionless in front of him. Shirley approached to report the enemies had fled. While Anne received help, the Silver King ordered them to focus on the wounded. He also ordered them to hang Constantine's head at the kingdom's entrance as a warning against new attacks. Noticing Shirley was surprised by his strength, Leon asked if the warrior wanted an autograph. He let her take charge of reorganizing the place. The soldiers celebrated the victory, but the king felt his body broken from channeling so much energy lately. Knowing every sacrifice was for those who stayed in the castle, he chose to take a shower before seeing his family. He wanted to avoid getting near the kids covered in blood. After cleaning up, the hero went to see his daughters. They welcomed him with a warm hug. After her father's feat, Muin commented he was the second strongest dragon she knew. She pointed to her mother as the first because her father obeyed everything she commanded. Leon admired his wife. He recognized she really was powerful, especially now holding another baby girl in her arms. This left the hero very happy. The baby was so cute that Noah felt like punching her to see her fly right away. Meanwhile, Leon pampered the little one, thinking she looked just like him. To Rosweiss, that wouldn't be a problem, as long as the daughter wasn't stubborn like her father. In disbelief, Leon asked his older daughters if he really was stubborn. They agreed right away. Then, he went to the newborn and playfully jinxed her, so she would always take his side. But the baby burst into tears as soon as she looked at him. Rosweiss comforted her daughter and asked if Leon wanted to hold her, but the boy felt awkward and made up the excuse that he smelled like battle. The queen didn't accept the excuse and ordered him to grab the girl right away. Full of fear, Leon held the little one. She started crying again, but slowly she calmed down. That left even the twins impressed with their father's skill. Rosweiss told the older daughters they also used to calm down when placed next to Leon in the past. Even though neither of them remembered that, it seemed to be something that connected them. Muin wanted to name the baby, and Noah suggested Blazer to symbolize a respectable dragon, which made the two of them start fighting over the name options. Leon intervened, saying that a name is something very important and needs to be decided calmly. What really mattered to him at the moment was knowing if the little girl took after her father or her mother. Rosweiss cut the subject short, saying that newborn babies all look like knees, and that the coolest detail on the little creature was something else. To Leon's despair, the baby had a pink tail and pink scales, which the twins thought were very cute. The young man felt that his plan to have the human gene be predominant failed, but he imagined that a fourth child could take after his race, though he quickly realized he was getting way ahead of himself with the baby in his arms. His thoughts were interrupted by the maid, who announced the arrival of Queen Isabel. The queen was curious to know how the head of an ancient dragon was piled up by a man who looked so weak, and she wanted explanations about what happened. However, upon seeing the newborn, she forgot the reason for her visit. Leon watched his aunt dote on the baby and commented that she seemed angry when she entered, even imagining that she had discovered his real identity. Isabel only had eyes for the baby and thought the little one looked like her because of the color of her tail. Leon was intrigued by the fact that the baby was born pink, and Rossweiss assumed it was a genetic mix of the family, since Isabel was from the Red Clan. The aunt quickly said she wanted to take the baby to be her heir, making Leon act defensively to prevent this, but it was just her joking. Next, Isabel decided to have a serious talk and asked who Leon Cosmode really was. Isabel seemed to accept the explanation that Leon was a great master, even after Rossweiss confirmed that he always had weak health. Curious about her brother-in-law's rapid recovery, the sister questioned the situation, and Leon lied, saying he took a strong dragon vitamin. However, Isabel pointed out that, even with supplements, it was not normal for a dragon from a small tribe to defeat a dragon king like Constantine. To avoid complications, Leon kept up the lie because he did not know how Isabel, the children, or the other dragons would react if they found out the truth about his involvement with Rossweiss. He kept making up a detailed story that left Rossweiss disgusted with the sentimentality, while the children watched fascinated and Isabel cried at the moving tale. Despite being moved, the sister-in-law reinforced that she wanted to know Leon's origin and not their love story, but the protagonist reaffirmed that he only got stronger to protect his wife. Faced with Isabel's weariness with that conversation, Rossweiss intervened and confirmed that Leon was fully dedicated to the family. Embarrassed, Isabel decided to end the questions and acknowledge that her brother-in-law was keeping his promise. Rossweiss realized that despite his clumsy way and his lies, her husband made her feel safe, which warmed her heart. Shortly after, the children noticed that their mother had fallen asleep, and Isabel asked to eat something because she was starving. Relieved after the interrogation ended, Leon decided to rest a bit next to his wife and the newborn baby. Sometime later, the queen woke up, admired her sleeping husband, and caressed his face, commenting that she would like to put a tail on him. Leon, who was only pretending to sleep, replied that he would rip her tail off if he could. Rossweiss got upset upon realizing he was awake, but Leon justified that he woke up when he felt he was being watched, making his wife quickly change the subject, claiming she was only looking at their daughter. Rossweiss then mentioned that her sister almost found out the truth about his identity, and Leon revealed that Constantine already knew everything. Worried, the queen asked if they had met before. The protagonist explained that, although he fought the Crimson Dragons in the past, he always wore armor that hid his face. Since the Dragon King was dead, there was no way to find out how he got that information, which made Leon suspect more people were involved in the case. Lost in thought, the queen remembered the pact with Leon's master and wondered if she should reveal this fact to her husband. Meanwhile, Isabel decided to talk about her sister's past, remembering when Rossweiss cried a lot because a little red dragon stole her lunch. At the time, Isabel comforted her sister and promised to make her another steak, while the little dragon got punished with 3 days without food by order of the future Silver Queen, making the girls cheer at the story. Leon took the chance to mock the queen, until Muen saw the memory change scene. In the new record, a young Isabel snuck around to catch the queen bathing and humming a cute song. Leon burst out laughing to Rossweiss's despair. In the video, little Ross noticed something strange and invited Isabel to bathe with her, leaving the red dragon nostalgic with the scene. Rossweiss felt so much anger at Leon that she only didn't smash everything because her older sister stopped her, which kept the recording globe intact. To make matters worse, Isabel showed a box full of love letters addressed to the Silver Queen, who had many suitors in her youth. Isabel tried to stop the kids from reading one of the letters, but Leon grabbed the paper and started reading it out loud. Annoyed, Rossweiss landed a blow that slammed her husband against the ceiling and finally ordered all the letters to be burned immediately. In the present day, the baby dragon was already crawling in the garden with her sisters. Watching the scene, Leon got curious about how long it took a dragon baby to start talking. Rossweiss said it happened around 2 months, though Noah, who was already trying to teach her little sister, spoke at just 1 month. Rossweiss also asked about human evolution, and Leon explained that babies of his race took 8 to 12 months to start talking. Then he claimed he was already born killing dragons, which made Rossweiss knee him to stop him from lying. After that, the queen put the baby in the stroller to rest, while Leon served the food to the kids. Muen started eating her sandwich, but Noah seemed to have something more important to talk about and asked her father to teach her the last lightning sword strike he used on Constantine. Leon assumed that since it was a B-rank human skill, it wouldn't be hard for Noah to learn, as she only only needed to shape the lightning. However, he explained that he spent all his mana in the fight, so he couldn't produce new lightning for the next few months. Rosweisa helped explain that her father needed time, making Leon think the sun rose on the wrong side for getting his wife's support. Noah understood the situation despite her frustration, but then the queen asked for a quick demo of Leon's power, making the man realize she wanted to see him embarrass himself. To top it off, Muen also asked to see the power, leaving the protagonist with no way out. Leon concentrated the little strength he had left and managed to summon the weapon for a short time, but the girls weren't satisfied with the small size of the object. Rosweisa whispered to her husband that size didn't matter, leaving Leon annoyed. That night, the queen asked her daughters to watch the baby to strengthen the bond between the sisters, and the girls left happy with the task. Leon commented that he found it amazing to see the twins growing up to help their parents, but Rosweisa's look gave him a strange feeling. The queen then said her husband had worked very hard over the last few days, becoming the great hero of the Silver Kingdom, and because of that, he deserved a bonus. Rosweisa was highly committed to the tasks of the kingdom, so Leon was responsible for taking care of Muen in every way. However, right when he woke up from his coma, the protagonist's goal was to find a way to escape with the child far away from the dragon mother. He wanted to give her the same education he received from his master, mostly because he couldn't wait to go back home. Muen interrupted her father's thoughts, asking him to tell her a story. Leon thought that since she was a hybrid, the girl should know the history of humans, but the little girl didn't like the idea. Muen repeated all the bad things her mother taught her about humans, which shocked the hero. Leon took a deep breath to hold back his anger at the queen and decided to talk about a side of humanity the girl didn't know, explaining that it was important to look at situations from different angles. Muen commented that she had never seen a human before, even though she was right in front of one who was proud of his race. Leon insisted on telling the stories because he thought it would make the girl's adaptation easier when he managed to escape, but the little one asked if there weren't dragons who liked peace. Leon replied that all dragons were wild, but the girl hit back by reminding him that her father had just said, "Everything has two sides." The response caught the protagonist off guard, making him realize he also needed to look at the life of dragons from another perspective. He then agreed with the girl, saying she was that kind of good dragon. Muen hugged her father, comforted because she also considered herself peaceful, and so the two continued with the story about humans. Back at the castle, Leon ran from Rosweisa, assuring her that after giving birth, a woman must go at least 2 months without exercising. However, the queen guaranteed that for a dragon, only 4 days was enough, making the protagonist feel that heavy trouble was coming. He still tried to threaten her for killing Constantine, but realized that when she wants something, there's no point in hiding, especially since they hadn't played the queen and prisoner game for 7 months. Rosweisa was climbing the walls, and even with Leon arguing that he had nothing to do with it, she threw herself at him to reclaim her sense of conquest. Feeling his clothes get ripped apart like a toy, the man regretted killing the Dragon King, figuring that only with him alive would he be free from his wife. Realizing there was no escape, the player went on the offensive to go down fighting and shot lightning everywhere, which brought a satisfied smile to his queen. The dragon mark started to pulse in both of them, and they soon gave in. The next morning, Leon was sore from spending all the mana stored over the last few months. While he was in a bad mood, he saw his beautiful and radiant wife already awake, decided on changing her clothing style to a more mature one because of their third child. Since she didn't like her husband's lack of compliments, Rosweisa threw herself on top of him expecting a better answer, threatening to let the youngest sleep more nights with her sisters. Quickly, Leon began to praise the stupendous and magnanimous beauty of his queen. Convinced, the woman told the man to get ready for the banquet that night, also ordering him to stay in shape because she didn't want a chubby husband watching dragon football. Leon didn't like the demands, and Rosweisa asked if he knew why he hadn't been executed yet. The protagonist replied that she didn't have the courage, but to the Dragon Queen he would be her prisoner for his entire life. Leon did his exercises as ordered, dealing with high difficulty. After he completed 330 push-ups, the Dragon Queen got up from his back and decided to increase the challenge by activating a gravity magic, equivalent to carrying 3 times Ross's weight. Noticing the guy's struggle, she suggested he accept defeat if he didn't complete the 500 reps. Next, the queen lies down right under the hero, warning him that he will have to kiss her if he can't support his own weight. This makes the task even harder, as the woman's scent breaks Leon's focus. Even with his body shaking, the protagonist gets orders from the queen to grit his teeth and push through to the end, while she cheers him on with every single push-up. Leon gathers his last bit of strength and manages to finish the entire workout. Collapsed and exhausted on the floor, the hero suggests his partner should consider opening training classes as an instructor. Ross, however, explains she already teaches her favorite student, ending the day where the human lost the endurance battle to the dragon. The queen gives a speech to her subjects about the battle against the red dragons, showing sympathy for the losses and asking the people for strength to rebuild. Right after, they release lanterns for the funeral ritual of those who fought bravely and begin the celebratory feast. Shirley asks if Leon is going to speak as one of the heroes of that day, but he prefers to watch the kids, even with the people wishing to see his face. For Leon, being a hero to the dragons still feels strange, and he prefers to stay humble, making Shirley wonder why the strong act like this and realize she needs to learn from them. While the queen does the honors of drinking with the people, Leon thinks she is overdoing it since she just gave birth, and warns the baby girl not to inherit her mother's stubbornness. The hero then gets a slap from the baby and notices she is already getting strong. Soon after, a maid picks up the little one to sleep, and as soon as Leon lets go of the child, he faces a mug of alcohol shoved in his face by the queen, who seems drunk. Leon holds the woman and invites her to sit down and recover, at which point Rosweiss vents that being queen is extremely boring. Leon assumes it is because of the heavy workload, but Rosweiss claims the throne is nothing more than a cage. Despite this, she guarantees she won't give up on her duty because she is the best queen in the world, especially since she has the strongest prisoner by her side, which she considers a perfect match. Leon fires back, saying his title as the greatest dragon hunter didn't come without reason, but Ross reminds him that she captured him, making the hero justify that he was betrayed by an insider. The queen asks him what he would have done to her back when they were enemies, then asks if they are still enemies today. Leon says yes, but they are on a truce for the sake of the kids, which the queen considers ungrateful. Since she is highly intoxicated, Ross hugs Leon and can't keep the conversation going. While the kids eat barbecue, the two struggle to pull apart, until the queen's dizziness fades a bit and she wants to know more about the betrayal he mentioned. Leon, staring into space, only comments that it is a long story. 3 years ago, Leon received orders from the Empire, along with his hunters, to invade the Silver Dragon Kingdom because humans were being attacked by them at the city gates. The protagonist led 100 squads to launch a surprise attack on the castle and was one step away from breaking through the inner walls. Suddenly, his vision went dark, and he felt a blade piercing his back in an ambush made with a powerful illusion magic whose caster had to be nearby. Even wearing a black gold breastplate, the blade pierced right through him, and Leon assumed the strike came from one of his trusted men, as they were immediately caught off guard by the Silver Dragon army. The protagonist recalled his friends couldn't carry him and left him behind. The irony was that the traitor never imagined he would end up as the queen's trophy husband and father to 3 girls. Rosweiss asks if Leon has any idea who the traitor might be. The protagonist explains his main suspect is Victor, the second in command, along with Martin, a support mage and nobleman's son who begged to join the squad. The queen wants to know if there is another suspect, and Leon answers there is also Rebecca, an elite sharpshooter responsible for cover fire. Rosweiss shows interest in the woman who was part of the hunter's life, but he explains he never paid attention to her, even though she had many suitors. The queen gets jealous, and the protagonist comments that his wife's beer must be spoiled. When she starts getting furious, he apologizes and says the sharpshooter is not his type. Rosweiss asks what his type is, but before he can answer, the queen passes out drunk, and Leon carries her to the bedroom. The next day, Rosweiss thought about the recent events, which coincided with the time Leon's master asked her to keep him at the castle. She felt she should let the hunter return to solve the mystery, but her heart grew uneasy just thinking about letting him go, since their relationship was getting better. Even though they were from different races, he became someone she admired, as his role as a father made their daughters' lives lighter and brought them closer to their mother. Suddenly, Leon interrupted her thoughts, arriving and pushing her swing without knowing how she felt. The protagonist thought the queen was in a bad mood, but she denied it, and asked if her husband would like to return to the Empire. Back during Noah's school competition, Leon was very confident in Rosweiss's strategy. She found him very bold when he hugged her, but the young man promised it was to improve their performance in the activity, which made her give in and hold on to him tightly as well. As soon as the race started, a major shoving match began, and the commentator predicted there would be falls during the race, but the couple moved in perfect sync. When they reached the first banquet to recharge their energy, the rules required one partner to feed the other a bowl of noodles. Rosweiss had decided to feed Leon, and to go faster, she almost made him swallow the entire bowl. Because of this, the young man's cheeks ended up completely stuffed with food. While the queen found the situation funny, the commentator praised the scene as an example of how to feed a husband, and the judges were moved by the display of affection. Leon knew his wife was just getting revenge on him and thought about running away. However, the arrival of another competitor who seemed like a heavy eater made Rosweiss shove the rest of the noodles down Leon's throat to finish the task quickly. At this, the commentator compared the situation to a war scene, but one of the judges interpreted the act as proof of complete trust between the partners. In the end, the couple came out of the tent victorious, though Leon looked more pregnant than Rosweiss herself. Back to the crucial moment, Leon didn't know what to answer about his return to the Empire until they suddenly noticed someone's presence. It was little Moon, who arrived calling her parents parents for dinner and grabbed them by the hands because she was very hungry. However, the protagonist noticed his daughter wasn't alone and warned the bushes that if Noah kept spying, she wouldn't get any more training. The eldest daughter then revealed herself, protesting against the punishment, and her father ended up praising her improvement in stealth. During the night, Rosweiss sang the baby to sleep, and Leon returned to the room after putting the older daughters to bed. The queen called him over to talk and revealed that his master had asked her not to let the young man return for a year. Leon was puzzled by this information, and Rosweiss explained she believed the man had something mysterious in mind, though she couldn't get more details because he left the cave where they met shortly after. Additionally, the master had become a wanted criminal in the Empire, but Leon couldn't quite believe it, knowing the quiet life the old man wanted. Next, Rosweiss mentioned that the master revealed the Empire now considered the protagonist a traitor. Leon didn't seem outraged by the news, acting as if he already expected it. The queen confessed she hid this out of fear that he would leave, but she understood her husband had important people in his other home and that his old master needed him more than she and the kids did. Knowing the other tribes wouldn't be bold after the Dragon King's defeat, Leon looked at his wife and was honest about his decision. Rosweiss allowed her husband to leave that night, asking only that he hug the baby one last time. Leon approached the baby, asking her to take care of her sisters when she grew up, and left on the back of the transformed queen, who still praised him as the best father in the world. Meanwhile, Noah watched the departure from the window, wondering where her parents had gone. Finally, the couple reached the border of the human empire, where Leon was ready to see what would happen. The protagonist suggested the queen go back from there because he did not know what kind of danger he would face when he felt Rosweiss's hands wrapping around him. The queen buried her face in Leon's back without letting him turn around. Even with his promise that he would return after solving the problem, she did not want to raise her hopes, saying she did not need him for anything. Hearing this, the hero just apologized and they agreed to meet at that tree in 3 months if things were not resolved, with Leon guaranteeing that nothing would happen to him. Before leaving, the queen asked the protagonist to name their new daughter. Leon chose Aurora because she was born at dawn, and Rosweiss blessed the girl's name, wishing her husband luck on his mission. At the city gates, Leon managed to sneak inside a wagon and got off quickly. Next, he saw his master's wanted poster in red, indicating high danger, which made him put on his hood and go to his house to look for clues. Noticing that everything was in ruins and abandoned for a long time, Leon assumed his master might have left something for him. In the stable, he found a clue indicating that Rebecca was trustworthy and that his master had been trying to find out who betrayed his disciple. Because of this, he decided to look for the marksman, who lived her life peacefully in the city, being kind to people and getting gifts in return. After returning home in peace, the girl felt someone's presence and drew her gun, but the hero stopped her from shooting. Back when Leon was responsible for teaching Noah, he studied seriously in the library to develop his teaching methods. Since he had been an exemplary student, he easily mastered his daughter's subjects, but he needed to increase learning efficiency because he only had 1 month to get her to pass. So, he gave the girl the important books for admission. Noticing that Noah spoke only when necessary, Leon deduced she did not deal well with strangers, but he hoped to win her trust and bring her to his side through the lessons. A few days later, the protagonist vented to Queen Ross that their daughter seemed unhappy with his teaching methods. The queen explained dryly that Noah was very happy to learn new things, which made Leon understand his daughter's personality better, as she hated childish games. Ross warned that despite being precocious, the girl needed a father's love, but she preferred not to give tips because she trusted Leon's tact. The protagonist found it strange to get a compliment from his then enemy, and then the two began to argue about which race was better and from whom their daughter inherited her intelligence. With no solid arguments to point out the dragon's flaws, Leon claimed they were very vengeful, which ended up awakening the queen's real desire for revenge and leading to unbelievable events in that castle. Back to the confrontation, Leon casually surrenders in front of Rebecca's gun just to avoid getting shot, but soon disarms his old friend with a single move. Pointing the gun at the young woman's head, he reveals himself as Leon Cosmode, the true leader of the Imperial Legion. Rebecca freezes upon seeing her captain alive and starts to cry out loud. Leon pushes the emotional girl away, who even considers shooting the protagonist in the thigh to prove she is not dreaming. However, Rebecca's biggest frustration is not being able to hug her friend because he is now a married man. Next, Rebecca admits that things have changed in the Empire, to the point where she would face the guillotine if they found out she was hiding Leon. The protagonist asks if she considers him a traitor, and the young woman promptly denies it, revealing that going against all the rumors caused her removal from the Dragon Hunter army. Now restricted to just patrolling the city, she shows she is eager to fight, and Leon thanks his old sister-in-arms for her trust. Rebecca then mentions she suspects a traitor in the attack on the silver dragons, as her senses were blocked at the time, and when everything went back to normal, Leon was already down and wounded. The protagonist confirms he only survived thanks to the durability of his armor. Hearing Rebecca mention the names of Victor and Martin, Leon asks about the suspect's whereabouts. The girl explains that Martin went back to live with his father, while Victor became a karaoke singer after being kicked out of the army. Rebecca suggests eliminating them both right away to clear any doubts, showing off her arsenal to help with the task. But Leon thanks his crazy friend and explains that his first mission is to find his master. The young woman reveals that the old man is wanted for murdering 2 royal guards and hanging their bodies on the castle walls, which made the front page of the newspapers. Leon thinks this behavior does not fit his master's style, so Rebecca grabs the newspapers, showing the various murders pinned on the man. The protagonist notices that all the cases involve underworld tycoons of the empire, and the girl adds that the victims had ties to the royal family. Leon finds it strange that all of this started a year ago, right when his master met with Rossweisse and decided to investigate the betrayal, thinking that the empire's refusal to restore his honor might have motivated the old man to act as a vigilante. Finally, Rebecca shows a photo of a disgusting priest who might be Master Tiger's next target. Leon suspects a trap, but remembers his master always said that every obvious trap is a challenge, figuring the old man would walk into the ambush on purpose to pressure the empire. That same night, Leon watched the city church, which was heavily guarded. Rebecca appeared and commented that Master Tiger Lawrence was very active. Leon got startled and told the girl to go back home, but she refused to miss the adventure, since she wanted to make up for the day she abandoned her captain and had brought plenty of weapons for the mission. Suddenly, a massive bolt of lightning struck the cathedral, where the priest ended up dead by Tiger Lawrence, who was quickly surrounded by several imperial guards. The guard leader ordered them to release the monsters, and several modified wolves appeared before the old man. Lawrence was disgusted to see the empire breeding that kind of A-class aberration. The monsters lunged, but Lawrence dodged and countered with mastery. Right after, some wolves took a shockwave, which the old man recognized as Leon's, though he found it weaker than usual. Leon revealed himself and complained about the lack of warmth after 3 years, but the master replied he already knew about his disciple's new life as a father. When Leon mentioned his new daughter, the old man got angry that his pupil was helping their enemies grow their armies. The guard captain recognized Leon Cosmode as a traitor and ordered his men to capture both of them. Master and disciple decided to handle the situation before talking and attacked the guards with lightning. The soldiers decided to release more monsters to hold the duo back. Leon considered it reckless to free beasts that could run wild and hurt civilians, but Tiger, already covered in lightning, stated the empire was no longer the same. The two started to run and found Rebecca driving a carriage to rescue them. Leon took the reins and told Rebecca to help the master fight off the monsters chasing them, making the girl excited to face the creatures once again. Before that, while the queen recovered from the blood curse, Leon took care of her under the cherry blossom trees, and she swore to get revenge on him once she was fully healed. Leon thanked the woman for her efforts, and she took the chance to insult his performance. However, Leon already had everything planned out and led Queen Rossweisse to a stream she liked to visit, even without a view of the palace. He held the woman's tail and promised she would have more special memories in that place, where the two got intimate by the riverbank under the moonlight. After that, Leon wanted to know if that was enough, but Rossweisse refused to back down. He then grabbed his travel itinerary, marked another spot for them to visit, and claimed he would use several marked locations to wear her out that night. Leon kept visiting the places with the female dragon, who still refused to admit defeat. After several rounds, she asked for a break to drink some water, but Leon was under the effect of dragon tonics and didn't stop. Inside the carriage, Rebecca shot at the beast and got frustrated, because the more she fired, the more creatures appeared. Right after, Master Tiger threw a spherical projectile at the aberrations, which exploded and turned the wolves into charcoal. After their escape, the trio gathered at a safe house where Master Tiger wished he could prepare a better meal to celebrate Leon's return. The young man, who was completely calm, asked where his adoptive mother was. The master explained that because of the Empire's complicated situation, he preferred to leave her in a safer place. Leon then wanted to know why the master was wanted by the authorities. After serving some soup to the gunner, the old man revealed he would never believe the boy was a traitor, which is why he decided to act to clear his disciple's name. However, he ended up facing false accusations of murder and began working to eliminate the corrupt people in power. Leon thanked the master for his efforts and asked if the old man knew the Dragon King Constantine. Master Tiger replied that he only knew the stories of a great warrior whom hunters couldn't eliminate in past generations. Rebecca, who was eating her soup, liked the idea of taking down a Dragon King, and the master commented that he wished to face such a creature one day. Leon, however, revealed he had already eliminated the monster, leaving his friends shocked. The protagonist explained that the clash happened during the battle where Rosweiss was giving birth to Aurora. Rebecca asked why Leon didn't take the opportunity to run away, and Master Tiger revealed to the young woman that the baby was the boy's daughter. The girl was shocked to learn her former captain had a child with an enemy and promised to shoot him in the head, but the old master preferred to hear his disciple's explanation. After hearing the whole story, Rebecca calmed down and stared at Leon's family photo. Getting back to the main topic, Leon commented that Constantine already knew his identity, which confirmed the existence of a traitor in the Empire. Since the rulers knew the hero wasn't dead, they sent Constantine to eliminate him, meaning the appearance of those monsters after the dragon's failure was just the first step. Master Tiger asked what the protagonist's plans were, and he stated he intended to capture the real traitor to get crucial information. Tiger and Rebecca decided to help Leon on his mission, especially since if the boy died, his adoptive mother would skin the master alive. Leon then realized he would always be the last in that family's hierarchy. Before they set out, though, the protagonist confessed to his allies that he could no longer use magic. Worried, the master wanted to know what happened, and Leon explained that he could only store a little mana in the magic circle installed in his body. Rebecca noticed the protagonist got awkward about the subject and asked about the purple glow on his chest. Feeling that the queen was thinking of him, Leon was pinned down by the master and Rebecca, who wanted to see what that witchcraft was all about. They noticed it was an indecent tattoo, which the protagonist was too embarrassed to explain. However, Rebecca realized it was a connection mark between Leon and the Dragon Queen, and it could have other uses. Since the protagonist was not willing to share his private matters, the master figured they should be more cautious because of his pupil's restricted power. Then, Leon suggested they should split up to capture the betrayal suspects. Before starting the mission, Rebecca decided the trio needed a code name, and after a few suggestions, they called themselves the Weak Girl, the Cripple, and the Old Man. During the first watch shift, Leon thought about his daughters and what the queen might be doing at that hour of the night. Remembering that the mark had glowed moments before, he assumed she was honoring him, but decided to ignore it and get some rest. Meanwhile, in the Imperial Palace, men conspired about the protagonist's return. One of them was sure he had pierced Leon's heart, but the second man warned him that the hero would hunt down his traitor and that he needed to finish the job. The man who delivered the blow then promised his master he would not fail this time, as it would be his last chance. Later at the tavern, Victor put on his musical performance, and Leon found it strange to see the former warrior like that. At that moment, a man approached to flirt with Rebecca, but the girl quickly brushed him off. The guy kept trying to get her attention anyway. Finally, Victor finished his show, and Leon, along with Rebecca, followed the suspect.